Call an ambulance, quick, hurry. My husband, Caleb, who always made me angry, suddenly collapsed on the floor, sweating heavily. The paramedics came right away. They checked Caleb quickly and put him on a stretcher. Then they turned to me and asked, "You're his wife, right? Can you come with us to the hospital?" Caleb looked at me with desperate eyes as they carried him away. I stared back at him. "No, I won't," I said, without hesitation. "What?" Caleb's voice sounded like he couldn't believe it. "Are you leaving me here?" "So?" I replied. "I'm not coming." "What do you mean?" "Just take care of the rest," I said, turning away. "Wait, Lydia, wait," Caleb called out. I pulled something from my pocket that I'd been carrying for days. The moment Caleb saw it, his face went even whiter. "How dare you treat me like a servant all these years? This is my revenge. I will never forgive you." Let me explain a bit about myself. My name is Lydia. I'm 36 years old and a housewife. I live in a rented apartment with my husband, Caleb. I met Caleb through a coworker when I used to work full-time. My coworker liked to invite me to parties, but I'm more of an introvert who prefers watching movies or cooking alone. I didn't like big groups and often turned down the invites. One time, my coworker invited me to a barbecue. I said no at first, but he insisted, so I went. The party had a lot of people, and one of them was Caleb, who later became my husband. I was sitting by myself, having a drink, when my coworker brought Caleb over. He thought Caleb and I might get along because we had similar interests. At first, I was surprised, but Caleb was friendly and funny. He was tan and seemed like the outdoorsy type. As we talked, I found we had more in common than I thought. We started talking more, and it clicked right away. We exchanged phone numbers and made plans to meet again. We went on dates and hung out a lot. Eventually, Caleb proposed, and we got married. Before we got married, Caleb was always kind to me, even though he was more outgoing and liked to be outside. After marriage, things didn't change much at first, but over the years, some things started to bother me. I quit my job to become a housewife because Caleb wanted me to, but he often made sarcastic comments about it. For example, one time when I wasn't feeling well and dinner was late. "I'm home, Lydia, why isn't dinner ready?" "Sorry, I was sick and had to rest. Can you take a bath first? You're a housewife, you should at least have dinner ready," Caleb said, never showing any concern for my health. It made me feel really sad. Another time, I mentioned a reunion in my hometown. "Caleb, there's a reunion coming up. Can I go once I finish my chores?" "Do whatever you want. Being a stay-at-home wife is great. You know, I envy you, Lydia. You get to spend your husband's money. He's usually nice, carrying my purse and bringing me flowers after work, but sometimes, he's rude." I even suggested getting a part-time job, thinking maybe Caleb wanted me to work, but he insisted I stay at home, so I remained a full-time housewife. One day, I got an unexpected call from one of Caleb's relatives. I picked up the phone, feeling uneasy. The relative was panicking on the other end of the line. "Caleb's mother has collapsed." I froze, shocked by the news. The relative explained that she had gone to visit my mother-in-law earlier and found her lying in the yard. She called an ambulance, which took my mother-in-law to the hospital. I quickly rushed to get ready and ran out of the house. When I arrived at the hospital, they told me that my mother-in-law's condition was still unstable. As we were talking, Caleb arrived, out of breath. We went to the hospital room to see my mother-in-law, who was lying in bed, hooked up to various tubes. It was hard to watch. "Mom," Caleb called, but she didn't respond. Caleb stayed at the hospital all day, and I went home to get some things for our stay. Over time, my mother-in-law started recovering and was able to sit up on her own, but she still needed help with most things. "I'm glad she can sit up now. I hope she'll be able to walk again with physical therapy," I said to Caleb. When my mother-in-law's discharge date was approaching, I told Caleb, we should start preparing for her to come home. Then, Caleb said something that confused me. "Oh, by the way, we're leaving this house next week. You better start packing." I was confused. Caleb seemed frustrated with me, like he didn't like my reaction. "We don't need this house. We're moving in with my mom." "Wait, does that mean we're going to live with my mother-in-law after she leaves the hospital?" I never heard anything about that. "What? Did you decide to move in without talking to me? Have you already canceled the lease for this place?" When I said that, Caleb got even more irritated. "Of course, I canceled the lease. It's the right thing for us as a family, to live together and help my mom. Don't tell me you don't want to live with her. I'm the one who works, so I won't take any complaints." He said this and walked away with a firm step. I couldn't believe Caleb was being so strict about this. He had cancelled the lease without even discussing it with me. Now, I had no choice but to move. I knew he was worried about his mom, but this was too much. I sighed deeply. A few days later, I found myself living with my mother-in-law. I had never cared for anyone before, so everything was new to me. I spent most of my days feeding, bathing, and helping her use the bathroom. She didn't want my help and hardly spoke to me. When I tried to talk to her, she would hide in bed and say she was in pain. Before she got sick, my relationship with her wasn't bad. We'd sometimes share snacks from the department store. Maybe she was too weak to care for anyone else. Caleb, on the other hand, rarely came home after work. He would go out for drinks and come back in the morning. If he stayed home, he'd find some excuse to leave, and when he was home, he'd just play video games in his room. One day, I decided to talk to him while he was gaming. "I know you're busy with work and drinking with your colleagues, but can't you help me take care of your mom when you're home, or at least help with the housework?" He didn't even look up from his game. "Why are you being so naive? Housework and caregiving are your job. I'm tired from working all day." "Well, I'm almost out of coffee. Can you make me some? And clean this room, okay? Also, take these clothes to the dry cleaner. I need them by Wednesday." Caleb gave orders and threw his clothes at me. This time, I couldn't hold back and snapped. "That's enough. I've been doing everything, housework and taking care of your mom, for the past month without a break. Why can't you help a little?" Caleb slammed his game controller onto the desk, stood up, and said angrily, "How dare you talk to me like that? Who do you think is providing for you? If you have a problem, then get out, take your stuff and leave." I hesitated, then said, "I feel bad for my mom. She's going to be left all alone with no one to care for her." I couldn't say anything else. It was true that I didn't have much money saved, and I couldn't leave my mother-in-law, who couldn't do anything for herself. I held back my feelings, picked up his clothes, and left the room. After 6 months of this difficult life, my mother-in-law passed away suddenly. One morning, I went to check on her as usual, but she wasn't breathing. I called an ambulance, but it was too late. Caleb was crying, saying, "I don't know why." But I couldn't cry. I felt cold seeing Caleb cry so easily. I thought, you didn't do anything to help her. And when I realized I didn't have to care for her anymore, I felt a strange sense of relief. I felt guilty for feeling that way. Time passed quickly. After the wake and funeral, I suddenly realized 2 weeks had passed since my mother-in-law's death. It was time to sort through her things. After Caleb left for work, I started cleaning her room. I packed her favorite clothes and accessories into boxes. It didn't take long since there wasn't much. Then, I opened a cabinet next to her bed. There wasn't much inside, but on the bottom shelf was a large can. I remembered it. It was a can of assorted sweets I had given her when she was still healthy. I wondered why the can was there. I opened it, and inside, I found a letter. It was addressed to me, starting with "Dear Lydia." I quickly opened the envelope and found a message written in trembling handwriting. "Lydia, I'm sorry for making you take care of me. I was ashamed of forcing you to work for me every day. I was also ashamed of my son, Caleb. I know how badly he treated you. Lydia, you should leave him and live your life the way you want." My mother-in-law knew everything. She knew how selfish her son was and how it was hurting me. At the end of the letter, she wrote, "I'm glad I could spend the last days of my life with you, Lydia. Thank you." That was when I cried for the first time since she passed away. It felt like everything I had been holding in finally came out. I cried until I had no more tears left, and then I made up my mind. I was going to divorce my husband. 10 days later, after finding the letter, my husband was still treating me like a servant. "Lydia, I'm missing a sock. Where is it? And take my car to the car wash today. You've got nothing else to do, right?" He was going golfing with his colleagues today. I couldn't believe it. Today was our wedding anniversary, and he had completely forgotten. "I don't even care about it anymore. What will you do while I'm golfing? You can't just sit around. You have to make dinner, clean my room, and clean the bathroom. You have a lot to do." His arrogance left me speechless. "Hey, you hear me? Bring me my sock and a jacket. Hurry up or I'll be late." At that moment, Caleb suddenly collapsed on the floor, clutching his stomach. He was sweating in pain. He told me to call an ambulance, sounding like he was trying to make it as dramatic as possible. I froze, shocked by what was happening, and he yelled, "Hurry up, you're useless, call an ambulance." When Caleb yelled at me, I felt strangely calm. I called 911, and within minutes, an ambulance arrived with paramedics. The paramedics quickly checked Caleb's condition and placed him on a stretcher. As they moved him, one of them asked, "You're his wife, right? Will you come with us to the hospital?" Caleb looked at me with pleading eyes, but I looked right back at him and said firmly, "No, I will not." "What?" Caleb sounded shocked, as if he couldn't believe what I was saying. "This man is a stranger. I'm not coming, please take care of the rest." Then, I pulled out something from my pocket, the divorce papers I had been carrying for days. They were the ones I had been forced to sign after a fight with Caleb. He had always threatened me with them if I didn't obey him. Caleb tried to grab the papers, but the pain was too much for him to move. He just had to lie back on the stretcher. "Excuse me, but please leave now." I said this, and the paramedics finally took Caleb away in the ambulance. He must have looked like the pitiful husband whose wife had divorced him. He deserved to feel embarrassed. I watched the ambulance drive off and then left the house. It took some time, but the divorce papers were accepted, and everything was finalized. While Caleb was in the hospital for a week, I packed up my things and sent them to my parents' house. Then one day, I ran into Caleb at the grocery store. "Lydia, please don't do this. You love me, don't you? Please don't leave me. I know I've made mistakes. I got carried away because you always listened to me." The arrogance he used to have was gone, and he looked completely pathetic. "What are you talking about? The divorce is already final. It's too late for you to act like this. Live your life however you want." He couldn't believe that I was actually going through with the divorce. He looked shocked, his hands shaking, and his face turning pale. Well, that's that then, bye. It had been 6 months since Caleb and I got divorced. One day, he showed up at my parents' house. He kept ringing the intercom and calling my name so loudly that I had no choice but to answer. He still wanted me to get back together with him. When I didn't respond, he started telling me about his life now. He couldn't cook, because he had always made me do all the housework. Now, he only eats TV dinners or eats out. He had gained 10 pounds since the divorce, with extra fat around his face and stomach. He also didn't know how to do laundry. His shirts were always wrinkled and smelled bad, making him look dirty. "I finally realize how great you were, Lydia. If I don't do something, people at work won't like me," Caleb said, starting to cry with fake tears. Basically, he wanted me to go back to being his servant. "I will never go back to that, never. If you keep making noise, I'll call the police," I told him coldly. When he realized I meant it, he got scared and left, crying. I was sure he wouldn't bother me again. I hoped so. Caleb seemed to be living a very inconvenient life. Meanwhile, I was living comfortably. I had stayed at my parents' house for a while, but now I had my own small apartment and lived alone. My living standards were lower than when I lived with Caleb, but I liked my life this way. I had time for myself. I thought it would be hard to find a job at my age, but a friend of mine knew someone who had retired, and I was able to take her place. I was so happy being able to spend my time and money on myself, without anyone telling me what to do. From now on, I want to live at my own pace. This is the start of a new chapter in my life.
The crystal champagne flute trembled in my hand as I stared at the elaborate place settings around our family's mahogany dining table. Tonight wasn't just another lavish dinner party. It was my execution. I'm Pearl, and at 29, I was about to disappoint my family in the worst possible way. "Leonard is a catch, darling," my mother whispered urgently, adjusting my designer dress sleeve. "He's offering stability, connections, everything we've worked for. Don't mess this up." The man in question sat across from me, his expensive watch glinting as he raised his glass. At 58, Leonard was successful, wealthy, and completely wrong for me. But that didn't matter to my family. All they saw were dollar signs and social climbing opportunities. "To new beginnings," Leonard announced, his practiced smile never reaching his eyes. Everyone clinked glasses while I fought the urge to bolt from the room. My younger brother Levi caught my eye from across the table, his expression sympathetic. He knew what was coming. We'd talked about it last week when I'd finally broken down and told him about Daniel. "Pearl has been reviewing the merger proposal," my mother announced proudly. "Haven't you, dear?" I set down my glass. Actually, I need to say something. The room fell silent. Even the servants stopped their quiet movements around the table. I'm not going to marry Leonard, I said firmly. I'm seeing someone else, someone I actually love. My mother's face turned white. What did you just say? His name is Daniel. He's an inventor working on sustainable technology solutions. We've been dating for 6 months. Leonard's smile vanished. Vanessa, I thought this was settled. It is settled, my mother snapped. Pearl is just having a moment of cold feet. Aren't you, darling? No, Mother, I'm not having cold feet. I'm making a choice. My choice. My father slammed his hand on the table, making the silverware jump. Do you have any idea what you're throwing away? Leonard's company could secure our family's future for generations. I don't care about his company, I shot back. I care about living my own life, not the one you've scripted for me. That inventor of yours, my mother sneered. What can he offer? A cramped apartment and dreams? He offers me respect, love, the chance to build something meaningful together. Levi spoke up quietly. Maybe we should listen to what Pearl wants. Stay out of this, our mother barked. Leonard stood, straightening his tie. I think I should leave. Clearly there's been a misunderstanding. Leonard, please, my mother begged. She doesn't mean it. I do mean it, I insisted. I'm sorry if this embarrasses you, but I won't marry someone I don't love. My father's voice turned deadly quiet. Then you leave us no choice. Either you honor this arrangement, or you're no longer part of this family. The words hit like a physical blow, but I'd expected them. Still, hearing them out loud made my chest tight. You're choosing some penniless inventor over your family? My mother demanded. I stood slowly, my chair scraping against the hardwood floor. No, I'm choosing myself. If you walk out that door, my father warned, don't expect to come back. No more access to family funds, no connections, nothing. Levi half rose from his chair. Dad, this is crazy. Sit down, our father thundered. I looked around the table one last time, at the crystal, the silver, the artificial smiles and hollow promises. All of it suddenly seemed so meaningless. I'll have my things out by tomorrow, I said quietly. My mother's face crumpled. Pearl, please, think about what you're doing. I have thought about it. For the first time in my life, I'm thinking clearly. I walked to the door, my heels clicking on the marble floor. Behind me, I could hear my mother's soft sobs, Leonard's awkward attempts at comfort, my father's angry muttering. Just before I left, Levi caught up with me in the foyer. Pearl. Wait. I turned, fighting back tears. Here. He pressed a small key into my hand. To my apartment, in case you need somewhere to stay. I hugged him fiercely. Thank you. They'll come around, he whispered. They have to. But we both knew that wasn't true. The Santiagos never came around. They only moved forward, crushing whatever stood in their way. As I stepped out into the cool night air, my phone buzzed. A text from Daniel. How did it go? I took one last look at the mansion behind me, at the life I was leaving behind. Then I typed back, I'm free, coming to you now. My hands were steady as I got into my car. The trembling was gone, replaced by something stronger, certainty. I might have just lost my family, but I'd found myself. And that was worth more than all the arranged marriages and business mergers in the world. You can't fit all these books in my spare room, Daniel laughed, watching me unpack my 10th box of architecture texts. We'll need to get creative with storage. It had been 3 days since I'd walked out of my family's mansion. 3 days of ignored calls from my mother, stern emails from family lawyers, and a crushing silence from my father. I can donate some, I offered, though the thought made my chest tight. These books represented years of study, dreams I wasn't ready to let go of yet. Daniel crossed the room and wrapped his arms around me from behind. No way, we'll make space. Harrison's coming over later. He's great at solving puzzles like this. The mention of Daniel's older brother made me smile. Harrison had welcomed me without question, treating me like family from the moment we met. It was so different from what I'd grown up with. My phone buzzed. Ellie's face lighting up the screen. My best friend had been my rock through all of this. Pearl, are you sitting down? Her lawyer voice was in full effect. What's wrong? They've frozen your accounts, all of them, even your personal savings. The room spun slightly. I gripped the edge of Daniel's desk. They can't do that. That's my money. I earned it working at the firm. Technically, the accounts were under your father's business umbrella. I'm looking for loopholes, but... Daniel took one look at my face and guided me to sit on the bed. What's happening? They're trying to starve me out, I whispered. Make me come crawling back. Like hell they are, he said firmly. We'll figure this out. Ellie was still talking. I've started the paperwork to establish your independent accounts, but Pearl, there's more. They're claiming you stole proprietary information before leaving. What? I shot to my feet. I didn't take anything. I know that, but they're building a case. They want to scare you. Daniel's face darkened. This is harassment. It's family, I corrected bitterly. Santiago style. A knock at the door made us all jump. Harrison's voice called out, "Brought pizza and moving supplies." Daniel let him in while I finished my call with Ellie. Harrison took one look at my face and set down the pizza boxes. Okay, what did they do now? I explained the situation while Daniel paced the small apartment, his inventor's mind clearly working overtime. They can't just take everything from you, Harrison said, his business acumen kicking in. There have to be legal protections. My family has very good lawyers, I said quietly, and they're not above playing dirty. Then we play smarter, Daniel suddenly announced. Pearl, remember that sustainable housing project you showed me? The one your firm rejected? I nodded. It had been my passion project, designs for affordable, eco-friendly homes that could revolutionize urban living. What if we built it? Not just one building, but a whole new company. Your designs, my solar technology. Harrison's eyes lit up. You know, with the right investors, and that could work. The market's hungry for green innovation. I don't have any startup capital, I reminded them. They made sure of that. But you have us, Daniel said firmly. And I've been saving everything from my patent royalties. My phone buzzed again. A text from Levi. Mum's on the warpath. Dad's talking about legal action. Be careful. Harrison read the message over my shoulder and snorted. They're scared. You're the golden child who got away, and now they're throwing everything they have at breaking you. I won't break, I said, surprising myself with how steady my voice was. I can't go back to being their puppet. Daniel pulled out his laptop. Then let's build something they can't touch, something that's purely ours. For the next few hours, we spread papers across the floor, eating cold pizza while sketching out business plans. Harrison made calls to potential investors he knew. Daniel explained how his solar panel innovations could integrate with my housing designs. Around midnight, exhausted but hopeful, I stepped onto Daniel's small balcony for air. The city lights twinkled below, so different from the manicured view from my old bedroom. Having second thoughts? Daniel joined me, offering a cup of tea. No, I said, realizing it was true. For the first time, I'm having first thoughts. My own thoughts. He smiled, that warm, genuine smile that had first drawn me to him. You know this won't be easy, right? We'll be starting from scratch. Good, I said firmly. Everything worthwhile I've ever had, I built myself. Why should this be different? My phone buzzed one last time. My mother. Don't throw away everything we've given you. Come home. We can fix this. I showed Daniel the message, then deleted it without responding. The old Pearl might have wavered, might have given in to keep the peace. But I wasn't that Pearl anymore. They'd tried to break me by taking everything away. Instead, they'd set me free. And I was going to build something so amazing they'd regret ever doubting me. Daniel squeezed my hand. Ready to change the world? I squeezed back. Ready to build our own? And these solar panels integrate directly into the building's facade. The investor leaned forward, studying our prototype designs. 6 months had passed since that night on Daniel's balcony, and we were finally getting traction. They're practically invisible, Daniel explained, pulling up the technical specifications. but they generate 40% more power than traditional panels, even in low-light conditions. I jumped in, pointing to my architectural renderings. The entire building works as a single ecosystem. Solar power, rainwater harvesting, vertical gardens. It's completely self-sustainable. The investor, Ms. Roberts, tapped her pen against her notepad. And you've tested this technology? We have a working prototype on our garage, Harrison chimed in. 3 months of data showing consistent results. The meeting room fell silent as Ms. Roberts reviewed our numbers. My heart pounded. This was our 5th investor pitch this month, and we desperately needed funding to scale up. It's ambitious, she finally said. Maybe too ambitious. My stomach dropped, but Daniel wasn't giving up. Come see it in action. We can demonstrate everything today. She checked her watch. I have another meeting in 2 hours. That's all we need, I promised. 20 minutes later, we were pulling up to our makeshift workshop, a converted garage Harrison had helped us lease. It wasn't much, but it was ours. Sorry about the mess, I apologized, leading Ms. Roberts past workbenches covered in blueprints and circuit boards. Mess means work gets done, she replied, surprising me with a smile. Show me what you've got. Daniel activated the prototype system, and the monitoring screens lit up. Watch this. For the next hour, we demonstrated every aspect of our integrated system. Ms. Roberts asked sharp questions, tested scenarios, and took detailed notes. The market potential is enormous, Harrison explained, while Daniel showed her the power generation data, especially with new environmental regulations coming. And your competition? She asked. I tensed, knowing what she meant. My family's real estate firm was still a major player in sustainable development, even if their approach was more about PR than actual innovation. We're offering something completely different, I said firmly. True sustainability, not just greenwashing. Ms. Roberts nodded slowly, then pulled out her phone. Cancel my next meeting, she told her assistant, and get me the paperwork for a Series A investment. Daniel grabbed my hand under the table as she named a figure that made my head spin. Under one condition, she added. I want this scaled up and ready to showcase at the Green Innovation Expo in 3 months. 3 months? Harrison whistled. That's tight. It's doable, Daniel said confidently. We've done the hard part. Now it's just about scaling. Then we have a deal? Ms. Roberts stood, extending her hand. I shook it firmly. Deal. After she left, the 3 of us stood in stunned silence before erupting into cheers. Daniel picked me up and spun me around while Harrison started calling contractors. We did it, I laughed, feeling lighter than I had in months. We actually did it. My phone buzzed, Ellie's name flashing on the screen. Please tell me that was good news about the investment, she said when I answered. Better than good. We're funded. How are things on your end? Your family's lawyers finally backed off on the theft accusations. They couldn't make anything stick. Of course they couldn't, I said, watching Daniel and Harrison argue playfully over expansion plans. Because we're building something completely new. Speaking of building, Ellie's voice turned serious. You should know your mother's firm just announced their own sustainable housing initiative. My celebration high-dimmed slightly. Let me guess. They're calling it revolutionary. They're calling it exactly what you proposed to them 2 years ago, except their version is all surface, no substance. I should have been angry, but instead I felt oddly calm. Let them try. We'll show them how it's really done. After hanging up, I joined Daniel and Harrison at the planning table. We need to think bigger, I announced. The expo isn't just about showing our technology. It's about showing everyone what's possible. You're thinking about your family's announcement? Harrison asked knowingly. I'm thinking about proving them wrong, I corrected. About everything. Daniel spread out fresh blueprints. Then let's make it impossible to ignore. Full-scale model unit, live demonstrations, the works. We worked late into the night, planning and dreaming. Around midnight, Harrison headed home, leaving Daniel and me surrounded by papers and possibilities. You okay? Daniel asked softly. With all of this? I looked around our workshop, at the prototype we'd built from scratch, the designs we'd refined together, the future we were creating. I'm better than okay, I said. For the first time, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. He kissed me softly. Then let's show the world what we can do. I glanced at my phone one last time before turning it off. There was a news alert about my mother's company featuring her proud announcement of their groundbreaking sustainable initiative. "Oh, Mother," I whispered. "You have no idea what's coming." "Turn on the business news now." Ellie's voice crackled through my phone speaker. I fumbled for the remote, nearly spilling my morning coffee. The headline scrolling across the screen made me freeze. "Major real estate firm faces investor exodus over false green claims." "Your mother's company is in free fall," Ellie explained. "Their sustainable housing initiative? Complete smoke and mirrors. Someone leaked internal documents showing they were just painting regular buildings green and calling it eco-friendly." I sank onto the couch, watching footage of my mother leaving her office building, surrounded by reporters. She looked smaller somehow, her designer suit not quite as crisp as usual. "Pearl?" Daniel emerged from our home office, concern etched on his face. "You need to see this email." He handed me his laptop. The message was from one of my mother's biggest clients, now requesting a meeting with us. "They're jumping ship," I whispered. "All of them." My phone buzzed again, Levi this time. "Mum's losing it," he texted. "Dad's talking about selling assets. It's bad, Pearl." Daniel sat beside me, his hand warm on my shoulder. "What do you want to do?" Before I could answer, Harrison burst through our door, not bothering to knock. "Have you seen the stock price? They've lost 40% in 2 hours." "I saw," I said quietly. "This is our chance," Harrison continued, pacing excitedly. "We can grab their market share while they're down. The timing couldn't be better with the expo next week." My phone lit up with another call, my mother's number. After a year of silence, seeing it now felt surreal. "Don't answer it," Harrison warned. "Let them sweat." But I was already hitting accept. "Hello, Mother." "Pearl." Her voice was strained, none of its usual commanding tone. "We need to talk." "Now you want to talk? After a year of legal threats and silence?" "Please." The words sounded foreign coming from her. "Things are complicated." "They're not complicated, Mother. They're exactly what I warned you about 2 years ago when you rejected my sustainable design proposals. Remember? You said they were unrealistic and bad for business." Daniel squeezed my shoulder supportively. "That was a mistake," she admitted. "We're paying for it now." "Yes, you are." I took a deep breath. "What do you want?" "Your father and I, we need your help, your expertise. We can offer you a position." "Stop," I cut her off. "I'm not interested in a position at your company. Pearl, be reasonable. This is family." "Family?" I laughed bitterly. "You disowned me. Remember? When I chose love over your arranged marriage plan." Harrison was frantically gesturing at me, pointing to his watch. We had a meeting with potential clients in 30 minutes. "I have to go," I told my mother. "I have a business to run." "Wait," she started, but I ended the call. The room was silent for a moment before Harrison spoke. "You know they're desperate when they start playing the family card." "They're not playing." Levi's voice came from the doorway. None of us had heard him arrive. "It's worse than the news is reporting. Mum's lost 3 major developments. Dad's talking about bankruptcy." I stood, needing to move. "Why are you here, Levi?" "Because I'm caught in the middle, and I'm tired of it." He looked exhausted. "They're our parents, Pearl. Despite everything." "They stopped being my parents the night they gave me an ultimatum," I reminded him. "And now they're facing their own ultimatum," he countered. "Karma's funny that way." Daniel, who had been quietly observing, finally spoke. "The expo's next week. Every major developer in the country will be there. Including what's left of your mother's company," Harrison added. I looked at the news footage still playing silently on the TV. My mother's face was a mask of controlled panic as reporters shouted questions about fraudulent environmental claims. "Pearl," Levi pleaded, "at least think about it." "I have thought about it," I said slowly. "For a whole year I've thought about what I'd do if they ever needed my help." "And?" Daniel asked softly. "And I think it's time to show them exactly what they threw away." I turned to Harrison. Move up our expo presentation. I want the prime slot, right after my mother's damage control speech. Harrison grinned. Now that's the kind of revenge I can get behind. It's not about revenge, I corrected, though part of me knew that wasn't entirely true. It's about showing them a better way. Whether they take it or not is up to them. Levi looked torn. They won't like being publicly upstaged. They didn't like me choosing my own path either, I reminded him. But this time, they don't get a vote. I grabbed my laptop, pulling up our presentation files. We have work to do. Mother wants to talk about family. Fine. Let's show her what real family looks like, the kind that builds each other up instead of tearing each other down. Daniel smiled, that warm, supportive smile that had given me strength for the past year. Where do we start? We start, I said, determination filling me, by changing everything. The Green Innovation Expo Centre buzzed with activity as I stood backstage, watching my mother's presentation through the monitor. Her voice wavered slightly as she addressed the crowd. Our commitment to sustainable development remains unwavering, she claimed, though the audience's skeptical murmurs suggested otherwise. She's bombing, Harrison whispered, adjusting his tie. Half the investors are checking their phones. I smoothed my dress, fighting the urge to peek around the curtain. How long until our slot? 20 minutes, Daniel replied, double-checking our prototype's controls. Everything's ready. Ellie appeared, tablet in hand. You need to see this. Your mother's company just filed for emergency restructuring. Before I could respond, Levi slipped backstage. Pearl, there's something else. Leonard's here. What? I spun around. Why? He's buying up shares in Mom's company while they're down. I think he's planning a hostile takeover. The irony wasn't lost on me. The man my parents had wanted me to marry was now circling their company like a vulture. My mother's voice cracked on stage. And now I'd like to introduce our new initiative. Mrs. Santiago, a expo coordinator, approached. There's a problem with your demonstration model. I watched on the monitor as my mother's face paled. The sustainable house model they'd brought, their last-ditch effort to save face, wasn't working. The solar systems were offline, the water recycling display frozen. We need 15 minutes, her technical team pleaded. We don't have 15 minutes, the coordinator said firmly. Either demonstrate now or forfeit your slot. That's when my mother did something I'd never seen before. She froze. Pearl, Daniel touched my arm. This is your call. I looked at my team, Daniel with his brilliant innovations, Harrison with his business savvy, Ellie with her unwavering support, then at Levi, caught between loyalty and truth. Get our model ready, I decided. Now. What are you going to do? Levi asked. I was already walking toward the stage, something either very smart or very stupid. My heels clicked against the floor as I emerged into the spotlight. The audience stirred, recognizing me. My mother turned, her eyes widening. Ladies and gentlemen, I spoke into the microphone. I'm Pearl, former chief architect at Santiago Developments and current CEO of Green Innovations. The room fell silent. My mother stands here promising you sustainable solutions, but instead of empty promises, let me show you what real innovation looks like. I gestured and Daniel activated our model. The massive screen behind us lit up with live data as our prototype house hummed to life. This isn't a concept or a PR stunt, I continued. This is functional, affordable, truly sustainable housing, and it's ready for production today. For the next 10 minutes, I walked the audience through every feature, every breakthrough. Daniel joined me, explaining the technical aspects while Harrison provided market projections. The audience was captivated. Investors who had been checking phones were now filming, taking notes, leaning forward in their seats. My mother stood to the side, watching. For the first time in my life, I saw something new in her expression. Respect. As we wrapped up, the questions came flooding in, but one voice cut through the chaos. Fascinating presentation? Leonard stood up. Would your company be interested in a partnership opportunity? I smiled, ready for this. Actually, we've already signed exclusive deals with 3 major developers. but I'm sure there are other opportunities out there. The message was clear. We didn't need his money anymore. As the audience broke into discussion groups, my mother approached the stage. "Pearl." "Not here," I said quietly. "My office, tomorrow morning." She nodded, understanding the shift in power. "What time?" 9 a.m. Bring Dad and the company books. All of them." She hesitated, then asked, "Why are you doing this?" "Because you taught me to never waste a good business opportunity," I replied. "And because, despite everything, you're still family." As she walked away, Daniel joined me. "You okay?" "Better than okay," I said, watching Leonard storm out while investors crowded around our display. "We just changed the game." Harrison appeared with his phone. "Orders are already coming in. We're going to need a bigger factory." "Pearl," Levi called out, "Mum's board members want to meet with you." I looked at my team, my real family, and felt a surge of pride. "Tell them to get in line. We've got work to do." As we gathered our materials, I caught a glimpse of my reflection in the Expo Center's glass walls. I barely recognized the confident businesswoman staring back at me. "Ready to go build an empire?" Daniel asked, taking my hand. I squeezed his hand, thinking of tomorrow's meeting. "No, ready to rebuild one, the right way this time." The expo lights dimmed, but our future never looked brighter. Sometimes the sweetest victory isn't in destroying your opponents, but in becoming everything they said you couldn't be. 9 o'clock sharp, and my parents sat across from me in our sleek conference room. The stack of company books between us told a story of desperation they'd never admit out loud. "Nice offices," my father commented stiffly, looking around at our modern workspace. "Very progressive." "We like it," I replied, watching Daniel set up his laptop for the presentation. Harrison sat beside me, reviewing the numbers one last time. My mother hadn't said a word since arriving. Her usual perfect makeup couldn't hide the dark circles under her eyes. "Let's get started," I said, opening the first folder. "Your company's bleeding money." "We're aware of our current challenges," my father bristled. "Challenges?" Harrison raised an eyebrow. "You're 3 months from complete collapse." "We didn't come here to be lectured by—" my father started, but my mother cut him off. "Robert, please," her voice cracked. "Let them speak." I pulled up their financial projections. "Your sustainable housing initiative was doomed from the start. You tried to fake innovation instead of actually innovating. We had shareholders to answer to," my father defended. "And now those shareholders are jumping ship," I countered. "Leonard's buying them out one by one." My mother flinched at Leonard's name. "We understand our position. What's your proposal?" Daniel stepped forward, pulling up our company's specs. "A full merger, your construction expertise combined with our technology." "Absolutely not," my father stood up. "We built this company from nothing. We're not just handing it over to—" "To what, Dad?" I interrupted. "To your daughter? The one you threw away because she wouldn't marry for money?" The room fell silent. Even Harrison looked uncomfortable. "You're not in a position to negotiate," I continued softly. "Leonard will take everything if you don't act now. At least with us, the company stays in the family." "Family?" My father laughed bitterly. "You walked away from family." "No." I stood to face him. "You pushed me away. And look where that got us." My mother reached for the technical specifications, her hands trembling slightly. "These numbers, they're remarkable." "They're real," Daniel confirmed, "unlike your green initiative claims." "Margaret," my father warned, but she ignored him. "How soon could we implement these systems?" she asked. "Mom!" "Robert, stop." She finally looked up, tears in her eyes. "Our daughter built something amazing while we were too proud to see it, and now she's offering to save us." "With conditions," Harrison added, sliding over a contract. My father snatched it up, his face reddening as he read. "You want controlling interest, and to restructure the board?" "Yes," I said simply, "because I won't let you destroy this company twice." "You don't trust us," my mother realized. "Would you, after everything?" Levi chose that moment to walk in, carrying fresh coffee. The tension in the room hit him like a wall. "How bad is it?" he asked, looking between our parents. "Your sister wants to take over," our father spat. No, I corrected. I want to save what's left, but only if you step back and let me do it right. The shareholders' meeting is tomorrow, Harrison reminded everyone. Leonard will make his move then. My mother reached for the contract. If we agree, what happens to the existing staff? We keep anyone who's willing to adapt, I assured her. This isn't about revenge, Mom. It's about building something better. Better than what we built? My father challenged. Better than what we could have built together if you'd listened to me 2 years ago. Daniel pulled up the expo presentation footage. Watch this. Really watch it. For the next few minutes, my parents saw what the rest of the world had seen. True innovation, real sustainability, actual progress. This could save the company, my mother whispered. It will save the company, I corrected. But only if you both step down. My father opened his mouth to argue, but my mother grabbed his hand. Robert, look at her. Really look. She's not our little girl anymore. She's the CEO we always wanted her to be. Just not the way you planned, I added softly. The room fell quiet again, but this time it felt different. Like something was shifting. Finally, my father picked up a pen. You'll keep the company name? No, I said firmly. We build under our brand, but we'll honor the legacy by doing it right. He nodded slowly, then signed. My mother followed suit, her signature steadier than I expected. Welcome to Green Innovations, Daniel said, without a trace of irony. As Harrison gathered the paperwork, my mother stood and did something unexpected. She hugged me. I'm sorry, she whispered, for everything. I hugged her back, feeling the years of tension start to crack. I know. My father remained seated, still processing. But when Levi brought him coffee, I saw him smile slightly. You did good, kid, he admitted quietly. Better than we did. It wasn't forgiveness. Not yet. But it was a start. And this time, we'd build on a foundation of truth instead of expectations. The shareholders' meeting buzzed with tension as Leonard strode to the podium, his confidence radiating through his expensive suit. He had no idea what was coming. Ladies and gentlemen, he began, I stand before you with a solution to our company's current difficulties. I sat between my parents in the front row, watching him lay out his hostile takeover plan. Daniel squeezed my hand while Harrison smirked beside us. My offer represents the best path forward, Leonard continued. A clean break from recent, unfortunate decisions. My mother stiffened beside me. I touched her arm gently, a gesture that would have been unthinkable just days ago. Are there any other proposals before we vote? The board chairman asked. Actually, I stood up, smoothing my blazer. There are. Leonard's smile faltered as I walked to the podium. Recognition flickered across his face, followed by something darker. Pearl, he said through gritted teeth. What an unexpected surprise. Not really, I replied, taking control of the presentation screen. Green Innovations has already acquired controlling interest in this company. The room erupted in murmurs. Leonard's face reddened. That's impossible. The family wouldn't. The family did. My father stood up. As of yesterday, we've merged with Green Innovations under their leadership. Leonard turned to his lawyers, who were frantically flipping through papers. This isn't legal. The board hasn't approved. Check again, Harrison called out, waving a document. Emergency board meeting yesterday afternoon. All very legal, all very binding. I pulled up our new company structure on the screen. Shareholders will be pleased to know their stock value has already increased 12% since the merger announcement. Because of my bid, Leonard protested. No, I corrected, showing the market analysis. Because we've already secured contracts with 3 major developers who believe in actual sustainable innovation, not empty promises. The shareholders were paying attention now, calculators and phones out as they ran the numbers. This is absurd, Leonard sputtered. You're going to trust the company to the woman you tried to buy, I finished for him. No, they're trusting it to the CEO who just saved their investments. Daniel stepped forward with our prototype demonstrations. For the next 20 minutes, we showed the shareholders exactly what their money would build. Real innovation, real progress, real profits. The vote is simple, I concluded. Stay with us and be part of something revolutionary, or sell your shares to a man who represents everything wrong with old-school business. Leonard made one last attempt. This is emotional manipulation. She's using family drama to what? My mother suddenly spoke up. To build something better than we ever did. Yes, she is. The vote wasn't even close. Leonard stormed out before they finished counting, his takeover dreams crumbling behind him. As the shareholders filed out, many stopping to shake my hand, my father approached the podium. "Pearl," he said quietly, "I need to say something." "Dad, we don't have to." "Yes, we do." He took a deep breath. "I was wrong. About everything. About you, about Daniel, about what makes a company strong." My mother joined us, her eyes wet. We both were. "The past is past," I said firmly. "We focus on the future now." "Speaking of the future," Daniel called out, holding up his tablet. "The first development site just got approved. We break ground next month." Harrison was already making calls. "Media wants interviews. Everyone's talking about the merger." "They're talking about more than that," Ellie appeared, showing us her phone. "Leonard's other investments are taking hits. Turns out people don't like failed hostile takeovers." I looked around at my team, my family, both old and new, and felt something settle into place. "Let's get to work," I announced. "We have a company to rebuild." My father cleared his throat. "About that. Your mother and I have been thinking. The old office building. It's not very sustainable." "Not at all," my mother agreed. "Perhaps it's time for a new headquarters, something that showcases what we can really do?" Daniel's eyes lit up. "I have some ideas about that." "I bet you do," I laughed, then turned serious. "But first, we do this right. Full transparency, real innovation, no shortcuts." "Wouldn't have it any other way," Harrison said, already pulling up potential locations. As we left the meeting room, I caught my reflection in the window. The woman staring back wasn't just a CEO or a daughter or someone's almost bride. She was herself, strong, capable, and finally, completely free. "Ready to build something amazing?" Daniel asked, falling into step beside me. I looked at my parents, now deep in discussion with Harrison about sustainable office designs. At Ellie, already drafting press releases. At Levi, grinning as he took down the old company logo. "No," I smiled, ready to build everything. The future stretched out before us, bright and clear and entirely our own. Sometimes the sweetest revenge isn't about getting even. It's about getting better. And now, cutting the ribbon for our first sustainable community development, the mayor's voice boomed across the gathered crowd as I stood beside Daniel, holding the oversized scissors. "Together," he whispered. "Together," I agreed, and we cut the red ribbon to thunderous applause. Behind us stood the first of many, a beautiful residential complex that merged my architectural vision with Daniel's innovative technology. Solar glass sparkled in the morning sun, vertical gardens cascaded down the walls, and happy families waited to move into their new homes. "This is what real change looks like," Harrison announced to the reporters. "Affordable, sustainable living for everyone, not just the wealthy." I caught sight of Leonard in the crowd, looking decidedly less polished than the last time I'd seen him. His failed takeover attempt had cost him more than money. His reputation had taken a hit, too. "Pearl!" Levi called out, waving me over to where he stood with our parents. Mum was crying, but for once they were happy tears. "It's beautiful," she said, touching the living wall. "Even better than your original designs." "Because this time, I had the right support," I replied, watching Daniel demonstrate the solar systems to a group of excited residents. My father cleared his throat. "About that, I have something to show you." He led us to a bench in the complex's central garden. "I found this while cleaning out my office." It was my original proposal from 2 years ago, the one they'd rejected. The pages were worn, covered in new notes in my father's handwriting. "You kept it?" I asked, surprised. "I read it every day after you left," he admitted, trying to understand where I went wrong. "Robert," my mother chided gently, We both know where we went wrong. We valued the wrong things. Ellie appeared with a tablet. Sorry to interrupt, but you need to see these numbers. Pre-orders for the next development are through the roof. Not surprising, Harrison joined us. After Leonard's company announced bankruptcy this morning. I looked up sharply. What? Karma's funny that way, Levi grinned. His investors pulled out after our success. Turns out people prefer real innovation to empty promises. A young family walked past, their children pointing excitedly at the rooftop playground. Their joy felt like validation. This was why we'd built this place. Pearl, Daniel called out, the residents want to thank you. I walked over to where several families had gathered. A woman stepped forward, holding her daughter's hand. We never thought we'd be able to afford a home like this, she said. You've given us a future. Her words hit me hard. This wasn't about beating Leonard or proving my parents wrong anymore. It was about changing lives. Speaking of futures, Daniel whispered in my ear, there's something I need to ask you. He led me to the rooftop garden, our favorite spot during construction. The city sprawled below us, and in the distance I could see the construction sites of our next projects. Remember when we met? He asked. You said you wanted to build something meaningful. I remember. He pulled out a small box. I think we've done that, but I was hoping we could build something else together. My heart stopped as he opened the box, revealing a simple but elegant ring. Is that? I started. Not a business merger, he smiled. Just love. Before I could answer, applause erupted behind us. Our families, both old and new, had followed us up. About time, Harrison called out. Well, my mother prompted, and I realized she'd known about this. I turned back to Daniel. Yes, I said simply. Yes to everything. As he slipped the ring on my finger, I caught sight of our reflection in the solar glass. Not a power couple, but a partnership. Equal, supportive, real. I have one condition, though, I said. Daniel raised an eyebrow. What's that? We get married here, in the garden we built. Perfect. My mother wiped away tears. A new beginning in a new place. My father hugged me, really hugged me, for the first time in years. We're proud of you, Pearl, not because of the company's success, but because of who you've become. Looking around at our gathered family, Harrison already planning the wedding logistics, Ellie and Levi arguing about color schemes, my parents finally embracing the future instead of clinging to the past, I felt complete. Ready to start our next project? Daniel asked, taking my hand. Below us, families were moving into their new homes. Across the city, our other developments were rising, and here, in this garden we'd built from dreams and determination, our future was just beginning. Always, I smiled, but this time we're already home. The sun set behind us, painting the solar glass in shades of gold. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even or proving others wrong. Sometimes it's about building something so beautiful, so right, that it makes the past fade away like shadows at dawn.
The black SUV crawled past my house for the third time that morning, but I was too focused on my empty driveway to care. My car, my beautiful silver Mazda that I'd spent 3 years paying off, was gone. In its place was nothing but oil stains and gravel, mocking me with memories of what should have been there. I'm Georgia, and this was the moment my life started unraveling like a cheap sweater. "Mom!" I shouted, bursting through the front door. The house smelled like coffee and guilt. "Where's my car?" My mother sat at the kitchen table, hands wrapped around a mug, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. "Honey, I can explain." "Explain what? That my car magically disappeared overnight?" My voice cracked. I'd just gotten back from a 3-day environmental research trip, exhausted and dreaming of a hot shower, only to find this nightmare instead. "I had to sell it," she whispered, not meeting my eyes. "Kyson? He was in trouble." Of course, it always came back to my brother. What kind of trouble? He owed some people money. They were threatening him, Georgia. What was I supposed to do? Call the police? Tell him to face consequences for once in his life? I grabbed the edge of the counter to steady myself. "How much?" 20,000. The room spun. 20,000. Mom, that car was worth twice that. Who did you sell it to? A dealer. He gave cash, no questions asked. She finally looked up, tears in her eyes. Your brother would have been hurt. So you stole from me instead? The words tasted like battery acid. Where is he? I don't know. He hasn't been home in days. My phone was in my hand before I could think. 3 rings, then Kyson's voicemail. You better call me back, I hissed. Or I swear to God I'm going straight to the police. That black SUV rolled by again, slower this time. Through the tinted windows, I caught a glimpse of someone watching our house. You can't go to the police, Mom pleaded, grabbing my arm. These people, they're dangerous. I yanked away from her. More dangerous than stealing my car? More dangerous than enabling Kyson's gambling? It's not gambling, it's... She caught herself, but too late. It's what, Mom? What aren't you telling me? The silence stretched between us like a rubber band about to snap. Outside, a car door slammed. Georgia, Mom's voice dropped to barely a whisper. Please just let it go, for all our sakes. Someone knocked at the front door. 3 sharp raps that made Mom flinch. I'm calling the police, I said, pulling out my phone again. No! Mom lunged for my phone, but I held it out of reach. You don't understand what you're doing. I understand perfectly. My brother's gotten himself into something illegal, and you're helping him destroy this family. Again. The knocking came harder this time. Mom backed away from the door, shaking her head. Mrs. Simmons? A male voice called out. We need to discuss the payment schedule. I moved toward the door, but Mom grabbed my shirt. Please, she begged, don't answer it. Looking at her terrified face, something clicked. This wasn't just about Kyson's gambling. This was bigger, darker, and my car was just the beginning. I pulled out my phone and started recording, keeping it hidden behind my back. Coming, I called out, ignoring Mom's desperate attempts to stop me. When I opened the door, 2 men in expensive suits stood there. The black SUV idled behind them. Can I help you? I asked, voice steady despite my racing heart. The taller man smiled, all teeth and no warmth. We're looking for Kyson. Is he home? No, but I'd love to talk about my car that was sold to cover his debts. The man's smile didn't waver. I'm afraid that's a private family matter. So, is this conversation? I replied, which I'm recording for the police. Their faces hardened instantly. The shorter man took a step forward, but his partner grabbed his arm. We'll be in touch, the tall one said, turning away. Tell Kyson he has 3 days. I watched them drive away, my hand shaking as I stopped the recording. Behind me, Mom had collapsed into a chair, sobbing. I'm filing a police report, I said, my voice ice cold. And this time, you're not stopping me. They'll kill him, she whispered. Then he better start talking fast. I grabbed my jacket and keys. To the house, since my car keys were gone along with my car. Because whatever he's involved in, it ends now. As I walked to the bus stop, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Stay out of it, sister. Some debts can only be paid in blood. I took a screenshot and kept walking. They thought they could scare me into silence. They clearly didn't know what happened when someone messed with my family, even if that someone was family themselves. Detective Sergio's office smelled like stale coffee and printer ink. He studied the recording on my phone, replaying it for the 3rd time while I fidgeted in the hard plastic chair. These aren't your typical loan sharks, he said finally, sliding the phone back to me. The way they operate, the suits, the careful language, this is organized. I don't care what they are. I want my car back. Your car's probably already been chopped and sold for parts. He leaned forward. But that's not what really concerns me. Your brother's gotten himself mixed up with some dangerous people. I pulled out Kyson's laptop, the one I'd grabbed from his room while Mom was in the shower. Maybe this will help. It was hidden under his mattress. Sergio's eyebrows shot up as he opened it. The screen flickered to life, revealing a login page. Any idea what his password might be? A memory flashed. Kyson and me, kids again, building a fort in the backyard. Our secret hideout where we'd share everything. Try Fortnite 1995. The screen unlocked. How'd you know? He was always sentimental about stupid things. I swallowed hard, remembering how close we used to be. Check his emails. Sergio clicked through folders, his frown deepening. These messages, they're encoded. Look at this pattern. The emails seemed normal at first glance. Discussions about fantasy football, movie reviews, casual chat. But there was something off about them. Wait, I said, pointing at the screen. These movie ratings, they're all numbers between 1 and 10, but they're for movies that don't exist. Good catch. Sergio grabbed a notepad. Could be a simple substitution cipher, each number representing something else. My phone buzzed. Another unknown number. Laptop was insurance. Bad move, sister. They know, I whispered, showing Sergio the message. He immediately closed the laptop. You need protection. These people. I need answers. I stood up, pacing the small office. Kyson's never been perfect, but he's not a criminal. Someone's got leverage on him, and I bet it has something to do with Mom. What makes you say that? The way she's acting. She's terrified, but not just for Kyson. It's like she's afraid of something else. I stopped pacing. I need to talk to him. Georgia, these people are watching you. If you... My phone rang. Kyson's name flashed on the screen. Sergio nodded, hitting record on his desk device. Where are you? I demanded. Sis, I'm sorry. His voice was rough, like he'd been crying. I never meant for any of this to happen. Then fix it. Come in and talk to the police. I can't. They've got Mom. My blood turned to ice. What do you mean they've got Mom? I just saw her this morning. Check the house. She won't be there. He took a shaky breath. They knew you took the laptop. This is my fault. All of it. Kyson, what did you do? It started as gambling, I swear. Just cards, normal stuff. But then, they showed me the photos of Mom meeting with their boss last year. Said they'd expose everything if I didn't help them. Help them with what? Moving money, lots of it, through accounts I set up at work. He paused. The gambling debts were just a cover story. Sergio was already on his phone, dispatching units to our house. Where are you? I asked again, softer this time. Somewhere safe, for now. His voice cracked. But they want the laptop back, or they'll hurt her. I'm so sorry, Georgia. I thought I was protecting her, but I just made everything worse. We can help you, I said, looking at Sergio, who nodded encouragingly. Both of you, just tell me where to meet. No, don't you get it? This goes deeper than you know. Mom's not just a victim. She was involved before I was. The photos prove it. Static crackled on the line. Someone spoke in the background. I have to go, Kyson said quickly. Don't trust anyone, even the cops. Some of them are... The line went dead. Sergio was already moving. We'll trace the call. Your house is being checked now. My phone buzzed again. This time it was a photo. Mom, sitting in what looked like a warehouse office, holding today's newspaper. She looked unharmed but terrified. They're playing us, I said, showing Sergio the photo. Using Mom to control Kyson. Using Kyson to control me. The question is why? What's on this laptop that's so important? I stared at the screen, at the encoded emails. Whatever it is, we have 12 hours to figure it out. Look at the newspaper in the photo. It's the morning edition. They're sending a message. You should go somewhere safe, Sergio said. Let us handle this. I thought of Kyson's warning about the police, about Mom's involvement being deeper than we knew, about the black SUV that kept watching our house. No, I said, pulling the laptop closer. I'm staying. Those emails are the key to everything. I met Sergio's concerned gaze. And right now, I don't know who to trust except myself. The numbers swam before my eyes as I scribbled another failed attempt at cracking the code. 6 hours had passed in Sergio's office, and we were getting nowhere. Take a break, Sergio said, returning with fresh coffee. You're going to burn out. I can't. I rubbed my temples. Mom's out there somewhere and... My phone lit up. Another message. Getting warmer, but time's running out. They're watching us, I said, showing Sergio. Somehow, they know what we're doing. He immediately pulled the blinds shut. There must be a leak in the department. I stared at the laptop screen, at those endless emails about fake movies. Something clicked. Wait, these aren't movie ratings. I grabbed a fresh piece of paper. Their coordinates, latitude and longitude, split across multiple messages. Sergio leaned over my shoulder as I mapped out the numbers. Storage facilities, he said, all across the state. Money laundering, I whispered. That's what Kaisen meant about moving money. A sharp knock made us both jump. Marissa, my best friend from college, stood in the doorway. Your neighbor called me, she said. Said there were police at your house. Why didn't you tell me what was happening? Because I didn't want to drag anyone else into this mess. I hesitated, then made a decision. But since you're here, you're good with patterns, right? Take a look at this. As Marissa studied the emails, her eyes widened. These aren't just coordinates. Look at the timestamps. They're routing instructions. Someone's moving something through these locations in a specific order. My phone buzzed again. This time it was a call from another unknown number. Put it on speaker, Sergio said, recording device ready. Hello? Smart girl, a distorted voice said. But do you understand what you're really looking at? Where's my mother? Safe for now, but we need that laptop back. You have 6 hours left. Let me talk to her. A pause, then Mom's voice. Georgia, baby, I'm so sorry. I never meant... That's enough, the voice cut in. Bring the laptop to the storage facility on 5th and Main. Come alone, or Mommy Dearest takes a swim in the harbor. The line went dead. It's a trap, Sergio said immediately. Obviously. I stood up, pacing. But what choice do we have? We could set up a sting operation, get tactical teams in place. No. I remembered Kaisen's warning about corrupt cops. They'll know. They always know. Marissa, who'd been quiet, suddenly gasped. These aren't just storage facilities. Look at the company names. They're all owned by shell corporations linking back to one holding company, Meridian Trust. My mother's bank, I said, where she's worked for 15 years. Everything started falling into place. Mom's strange behavior, the photos they were using to blackmail Kaisen, the money movement patterns. My phone rang again. This time, it was Kaisen. Don't trust Sergio, he said without preamble. He's been on their payroll for months. I looked up at the detective, who was watching me with concerned eyes. Was he really part of this? Prove it, I said. Check his left desk drawer. There's a burner phone, same model they gave me for communications. My heart pounding, I walked to Sergio's desk. Mind if I check something? He stepped aside, looking confused. Go ahead. I pulled open the drawer. There, under some papers, was a cheap flip phone. Sergio's face changed instantly. He reached for his gun, but Marissa was faster, throwing her coffee mug at his head. It connected with a crack, and he stumbled. I grabbed the laptop and ran, Marissa right behind me. We could hear Sergio shouting into his radio as we hit the stairs. My car's out back, Marissa said as we burst into the parking lot. Where to? 5th and Main, I said, clutching the laptop. But we're not giving this back. Not until we know everything. As we drove, Kaisen's voice came through my phone. There's a program on that laptop. It tracks all their transactions, all their dirty money. Mom found out about it last year. Tried to report it, but they caught her. Been using her as leverage ever since. Why didn't she tell me? To protect you. Same reason I kept quiet. He paused. I'm at the storage facility. Got here an hour ago. They don't know yet. You're crazy. They'll kill you. Maybe, but I'm done running. Done letting them hurt our family. His voice hardened. I'm sending you a file. Everything I know about their operation. If anything happens to me or Mom, make it public. The file appeared on my phone. Documents, photos, transaction records. Kaisen, wait. I love you, sis. Sorry I was such a screw-up. He hung up. Marissa glanced at me as we sped through a yellow light. What's the plan? I stared at the laptop, at my phone with its damning evidence, at the approaching storage facility where my brother was about to do something incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. We're going to finish this, I said. All of it. The storage facility loomed ahead, its gates open like a monster's mouth, ready to swallow us whole. Marissa killed the headlights as we pulled into the storage facility. The place was a maze of identical orange doors and concrete walls, security cameras blinking like red eyes in the growing darkness. "This is insane," she whispered. "We should call the FBI or something." "No time." I checked my phone's map. Unit 247, that's where the coordinates point. A figure emerged from the shadows, making us both jump. "Kyson, you shouldn't have come," he said, opening my door, "but I'm glad you did." "Where's Mom?" "Building C, second floor office, 2 guards outside, 1 with her." He looked worse than he sounded on the phone, bruised eye, split lip. "They don't know I'm here yet." "What happened to your face?" "Doesn't matter. Listen, I've got a plan." Headlights swept across the lot, the black SUV. "Hide!" Kyson shoved us between 2 storage units. "Whatever happens, wait for my signal." We pressed ourselves against the cold metal as car doors slammed. "Right on time," a man's voice said. "Where's your sister?" "She's coming," Kyson replied. "Had to ditch some cops first." "The laptop?" "She'll bring it, but I want to see my mother first." Footsteps moved away. I peered around the corner. 3 men in suits were leading Kyson toward Building C. "Now what?" Marissa asked. I pulled out my phone, forwarding Kyson's file to every news outlet in my contacts. "Now we get ready." "For what?" "Something stupid." I handed her the laptop. "Take this to your car. If anything happens, drive straight to Channel 7 News. They're expecting you." "Georgia, no. Please. I need someone I can trust on the outside." She hugged me fiercely, then disappeared into the darkness with the laptop. I counted to 30, then followed the path Kyson had taken. Building C loomed ahead, its second-floor windows illuminated. Through the glass, I could see Mom sitting in an office chair, hands bound. A service ladder ran up the building's back wall. My environmental fieldwork was about to pay off in an unexpected way. The metal rungs were cold against my palms as I climbed. Below, I heard Kyson's voice carrying through an open window. "All the account numbers, everything you need." I reached the roof, staying low. A skylight offered a perfect view of the office. Mom sat rigid in her chair, while a man in an expensive suit paced behind her. Kyson stood by the door, hands raised. 2 more suits blocked the exit. "Where's the laptop?" suit guy demanded. "Georgia's bringing it. 10 minutes. "You said that 20 minutes ago." He pulled out a gun, pressing it to Mom's head. "Maybe we need to motivate her." "Wait." Kyson stepped forward. "Check your phone." Everyone's phones buzzed simultaneously, mine too. A news alert. Breaking. Major banking scandal uncovered at Meridian Trust. "What did you do?" Suit guy grabbed Kyson's collar. "Insurance policy." Kyson smiled through bloody teeth. "Every news outlet in the state just got proof of your operation. Kill us, and it all goes public." I used their distraction to slip through the skylight, landing silently on a filing cabinet. Mom saw me, but didn't react. "You're bluffing," suit guy snarled. "Check your stocks," Kyson said. More phones buzzed. Someone cursed. "We're down 12 points already," one suit said. "Sir, we need to contain this." "Contain this," I said, dropping onto suit guy's shoulders. The gun went flying as we crashed to the floor. Kyson tackled the nearest guard. Mom, somehow free of her restraints, slammed her chair into the other one. "Georgia, catch!" Mom threw me a key ring. "Storage unit 247!" I ran, footsteps thundering behind me, downstairs, through corridors, counting numbers until I reached 247. The key worked. I yanked the door up. Inside sat my car. "Get in!" Kyson appeared, shoving me toward the driver's side. Mom jumped in back. "How? Drive!" they shouted together. I floored it, crashing through a wooden gate onto the street. The black SUV roared after us. "They never sold your car," Mom said, ducking as shots rang out. "They kept it as collateral. The laptop was a distraction." "From what?" "From what's in the trunk," Kyson said. 5 years of physical records, account numbers, transactions, names of every dirty cop and banker in their network. I swerved around a corner, tires screaming. "That's why you leaked the story? To keep them from killing us?" "Part of it." He grinned, despite his injuries. Also wanted to tank their stock before trading opened tomorrow. Cost them millions. Both of you shut up and call Marissa, Mom ordered. Tell her to meet us at the police station, the real police. How do we know who to trust? I asked, taking another sharp turn. Mom pulled out her phone. Because I've spent the last year building my own insurance policy. Friends in the FBI, SEC, everyone they couldn't buy. Just needed the evidence to make it stick. The SUV was falling behind as we hit the highway. Mom? I glanced in the rearview mirror. I'm sorry, I thought you were just enabling him. Honey, she smiled, where do you think Kyson learned to play the long game? Red and blue lights appeared ahead, but this time, they were on our side. The FBI safe house looked like any other suburban home, complete with tacky garden gnomes and an overgrown lawn. Agent Danielle, who happened to be my boss at the environmental agency, sat across from us in the living room, spreading photos across the coffee table. You've been undercover this whole time? I asked, still processing the revelation. 3 years, she nodded. We knew Meridian Trust was dirty, but couldn't prove it. Your mother changed everything. Mom squeezed my hand. I noticed the discrepancies in international transfers last year. When I tried reporting it internally, they showed me photos of Kyson gambling at their private club. They'd been grooming me, Kyson said, holding an ice pack to his face. Getting me in debt, then offering ways to work it off. I thought I was protecting Mom by playing along. And I thought I was protecting both of you by staying quiet, Mom added. Agent Danielle laid out more photos. The operation goes deeper than banking. They've been using storage facilities to move more than money. Drugs? I asked. Sometimes, but mainly classified technology, corporate secrets, things worth more than cash. She pointed to a familiar face in one photo. That's why Sergio was on their payroll. He kept local police away from their storage units. My phone buzzed. Another news alert. Meridian Trust CEO found dead in apparent suicide. It's starting, Danielle said grimly. The rats are jumping ship. What about the other cops? Kyson asked. The ones still out there? We're rounding them up now, but some will slip through the cracks. She looked at each of us. That's why you're here. Until we've contained the situation, you're in protective custody. A knock at the door made everyone tense. An agent entered with Marissa. Your friend checks out, Danielle said. She's been helping us decrypt more files from the laptop. Marissa hugged me tight. You could have told me your boss was FBI. I didn't know. Speaking of things we didn't know, Kyson interrupted, what exactly is in my car's trunk that's so important? Mom stood up, pacing. Not just records. There's a hard drive containing every illegal transaction they've made for the past decade. Names, dates, account numbers, everything. Which makes all of you targets, Danielle added. The drive is encrypted, but they don't know that. They think you can access it. As if on cue, my phone rang. Unknown number. Put it on speaker, Danielle ordered, recording equipment ready. Hello? I answered. Quite a show today. The voice was familiar, the same distorted tone from the storage facility. But this isn't over. Seems pretty over to me. Your CEO just took the coward's way out. He was weak. I'm not. A pause. The drive, Georgia. Bring it to the location I'm texting you, or start planning 3 funerals. You don't get to threaten my family anymore. No? Ask your mother about Project Lighthouse. Ask her what really happened to your father. Mom went pale. You have 1 hour. The line went dead. Mom! I turned to her. What's Project Lighthouse? What did he mean about Dad? She sank into a chair, hands shaking. Your father's car accident 10 years ago. It wasn't an accident. He was an auditor, investigating overseas accounts. He found something. Something about a secret project involving military contracts. They killed him? Kyson's voice cracked. They made it look like drunk driving. I couldn't prove anything. She looked up, eyes hard. That's why I stayed at Meridian. Gathering evidence, waiting for a chance to bring them down. The drive, Danielle said urgently. Where is it? Safe, Mom replied. But they're right. This isn't over. The CEO was just a figurehead. The real power is someone else. Someone who's been watching us all along. My phone buzzed with an address. The lighthouse at Porter's Point. It's a trap, Marissa said. Obviously, I agreed. But it's also our chance to end this. No, Danielle stood. You're staying here. We'll handle it. Like you handled my father's case? Mom challenged. No offense, but we've gotten further in 3 days than the FBI did in 3 years. Because they weren't expecting it from us, Kyson added. We're their blind spot. I looked at the address again. The lighthouse closes to tourists at sunset. That's in 2 hours. You can't seriously be considering this, Marissa protested. But I saw the look in Mom's eyes, saw Kyson straightening despite his injuries. This was our fight. We're going, I said, but we're doing it our way. Danielle studied us for a long moment. You realize you're talking about using yourselves as bait? No, Mom said, pulling out her phone. We're talking about finishing what my husband started. She showed us a photo. Dad at the same lighthouse 10 years ago, the day before he died. Project Lighthouse wasn't just a code name, she said. It was literal. Whatever they're hiding, whatever got my husband killed, it's there. Then let's go get it, I said, grabbing my car keys. Sometimes the only way to escape a trap is to spring it yourself. The lighthouse stood like a bone-white finger against the darkening sky. Waves crashed against the rocky shore below as we parked in the empty lot. Last chance to back out, I said, checking my phone's signal. 1 bar. They killed Dad here, Kyson replied, his face grim. We finish this here. Mom touched the silver locket at her neck, the one containing Dad's photo. Remember the plan. No heroes. We'd left Marissa back at the safe house with Danielle, coordinating with FBI teams. They were positioned out of sight, waiting for our signal. The hard drive was secure in a safety deposit box across town, our insurance policy. The lighthouse door creaked open at our approach. After you, a voice called from inside. Mom squeezed my hand, then stepped through. Kyson and I followed. The interior was dim, lit only by emergency lights. A man in an expensive suit stood at the base of the spiral staircase. Even in the poor light, I recognized him from Mom's old company photos. Marcus, she said coldly. Board chairman himself. I'm honored. Helen? He smiled without warmth. Your husband had that same sarcastic tone, right before his accident. Kyson lunged forward, but I grabbed his arm. The drive, Marcus said. Where is it? Safe, I answered. Like we are with FBI teams surrounding this place. He laughed. You mean the teams at the South Dock? And the roadblock on Harbor Street? Already taken care of. He pulled out his phone, showing live footage of unconscious agents. Amazing how many people still accept cash bribes. Mom stepped forward. This was never about money laundering, was it? Project Lighthouse. It's something worse. Smart woman. Too smart. He gestured to the stairs. Shall we? The view from the top is spectacular. We climbed in silence, Marcus behind us with his hand in his jacket pocket, obviously holding a gun. 5 stories up, the lighthouse opened into a circular room with windows facing the ocean. 10 years ago, Marcus said, your husband stood in this exact spot. He'd discovered our little side operation, weapons testing, biological agents, things the military wouldn't officially approve. The storage facilities, I realized. They weren't just for money. International buyers pay well for advanced weapons. The banking network just makes it look legitimate. He pulled out his gun, confirming our suspicions. Helen, show them. Mom walked to a section of wall, pressing a hidden panel. A door slid open, revealing a modern elevator. Dad found this, Kyson whispered. And died for it, Marcus confirmed. The lighthouse is just a cover. The real facility is below sea level. My phone buzzed, the signal we'd been waiting for. You won't get away with this, I said, playing for time. The evidence is worthless without the encryption key. He smiled again. Which your mother has memorized. Don't you, Helen? Mom's hand went to her locket. I don't know what you're talking about. No. Your husband's last words were about a silver key. Took us years to realize he meant the key was in the silver. He pointed the gun at me. Open the locket, Helen. She unclasped it slowly, hands shaking. Inside, behind Dad's photo, was a tiny microchip. The key, Marcus said softly, all this time right around your neck. Hand it over. Mom, don't. The gun swung toward me. The chip, or I redecorate this lighthouse with your daughter's blood. Mom stepped toward him, locket extended. But as Marcus reached for it, she threw it, not to him, but out the window. No! He rushed to the window. That's when Kyson tackled him. The gun went flying as they crashed into the wall. I dove for the weapon, but Marcus kicked it away, sending it skittering toward the elevator. You idiots! He snarled, throwing Kyson off. That chip was worth millions! It was worth nothing, Mom said, helping Kyson up, just like your security footage of the FBI teams. Marcus went still. What? Did you really think we'd come alone? I smiled. Check your phone again. He pulled it out. The footage was gone, replaced by a text. Signal traced. Move in. Helicopter spotlights suddenly flooded the lighthouse windows. Boots thundered on the stairs below. You played us, Marcus realized. No, Mom said. We played you like you played us for 10 years. That chip? A fake. The real one was delivered to the FBI an hour ago. Along with everything from the hard drive, Kyson added. While you were watching the FBI teams you thought you'd bought, the real raid was happening at all your storage facilities. Marcus lunged for the elevator, but I was closer. I grabbed the gun from the floor and pointed it at him. Don't, I said. Dad deserves better than having more blood spilled here. The door burst open. Real FBI agents swarmed in, led by Danielle. As they cuffed Marcus, Mom hugged us both. Your father would be so proud. Helen, Marcus called as they led him away. There are others, people you don't know about. This isn't over. No, she agreed, taking our hands. But whatever comes next, we face it together. Through the lighthouse windows, red and blue lights reflected off the waves like fireworks. The dark waters that had hidden so many secrets were finally giving them up. Sometimes justice takes a decade. Sometimes it takes a family willing to risk everything. And sometimes it takes both. The FBI's evidence room buzzed with activity as agents cataloged everything seized from the lighthouse facility. Weapons prototypes, biological samples, and enough documents to fill a library, all hidden beneath that innocent white tower. You need to see this, Danielle said, leading us to a computer terminal. We found it in Marcus's private server. The screen showed security footage from 10 years ago. My hand found Mom's as we watched Dad walk into the lighthouse, briefcase in hand. You don't have to watch, Kyson said softly. Yes, we do. The footage showed Dad discovering the hidden elevator, confronting Marcus. There was no audio, but we could see them arguing. Then Dad reached for his phone, probably trying to call for help, and Mom turned away. I couldn't blame her. There's more, Danielle said gently. Earlier footage shows your father meeting with someone else, someone who warned him about Project Lighthouse. She fast-forwarded to a different day. Dad sat in a cafe with a woman I recognized from recent news coverage, the FBI director who'd just announced her sudden retirement. The corruption went all the way to the top, Kyson realized. Goes, a voice corrected. We turned to see Marcus, handcuffed and flanked by guards. Present tense. You really think I'm the only one? You're done talking, Danielle snapped, but he continued. Helen, tell them about the other projects, the ones your husband never found. Mom's face hardened. Whatever game you're playing. Ring, ring, he sang, and every phone in the evidence room started ringing simultaneously. Danielle grabbed her phone. How? The lights went out. Emergency generators kicked in as agents scrambled for weapons. Through the chaos, I saw Marcus's guards crumple to the ground. Gas! Someone shouted. Everyone out! But the doors wouldn't open. Mom! I called through the thickening air. Kyson? Here! They grabbed my arms, pulling me toward the emergency exit. Marcus's laughter echoed through the room. Did you think I didn't have a contingency plan? That they'd let me rot in prison? Armed figures in gas masks burst through the vents. Gunfire erupted. This way! Danielle shoved us behind a filing cabinet. pulling out spare masks from my emergency kit. "Put these on!" Through the mask's foggy visor, I watched the intruders grab hard drives and weapons from the evidence lockers. "They're destroying the evidence," Mom said, her voice muffled. "Everything we fought for." "Not everything." Kyson pulled out his phone, which was still recording. "Live streaming to every news outlet in the country. Say hi to America, Marcus." The masked figures turned toward us. Marcus's voice rang out. "Kill them!" Danielle returned fire as we ran for the ventilation shaft. Bullets pinged off metal around us. "Up," she commanded, giving me a boost. "The shaft leads to the parking garage." I crawled through the tight space, hearing Mom and Kyson behind me. The sound of gunfire grew distant. "Danielle!" I called back. "Keep going," she shouted. "I'll hold them." Her words cut off in a burst of gunfire. "No!" Mom tried to turn back, but Kyson pushed her forward. "She gave us a chance. Don't waste it." We emerged in the parking garage, alarms blaring throughout the building. My car was just 20 feet away. "Georgia, catch!" I turned to see Danielle, wounded but alive, toss something from the vent. A flash drive. "Insurance policy!" she yelled. "Now run!" We sprinted for the car as more masked figures appeared. I fumbled with the keys as bullets shattered windows around us. "Drive!" Mom and Kyson dove in as I started the engine. We crashed through the parking gate, tires squealing. In the rearview mirror, I saw the FBI building burning. "The drive!" Mom gasped. "What's on it?" Kyson plugged it into his phone. His eyes widened. Names, dates, every corrupt official involved in Project Lighthouse and beyond, including the FBI director, I finished. That's why she retired suddenly. She knew this was coming. "Marcus was just a middleman," Mom said. "The real power players are still out there." "Not for long." Kyson's thumbs flew over his phone. "Uploading everything to social media now. Let's see them try to bury this." My phone buzzed with an incoming call. Marissa. "Turn on the news," she shouted. "It's everywhere. The FBI raid, the shootout, everything. They can't cover it up this time." Mom touched Dad's locket, which still hung around her neck. "He'd be proud of us." "It's not over," I said, taking the highway ramp. "They'll come after us again." "Let them," Kyson replied, showing us his phone screen filled with viral news alerts. "The whole world is watching now." Red and blue lights appeared behind us, but this time we couldn't tell if they were friend or foe. "Where to?" I asked, gripping the steering wheel. Mom's voice was steel. "Somewhere we can finish what your father started, once and for all." The city lights faded behind us as we drove into the darkness, carrying truth like a torch and justice like a sword. The real war was just beginning. The morning sun painted the courthouse steps golden as we watched the FBI director being led away in handcuffs. News cameras flashed like lightning, capturing the moment justice finally won. "That's the last one," Danielle said, her arm still in a sling from the evidence room shootout. "Every name on that drive, every person involved in Project Lighthouse, all facing charges." My phone buzzed with another news alert. Breaking, international weapons ring. Dismantled, high-level officials implicated. "They're calling it the biggest corruption scandal in history," Kyson said, scrolling through updates. "Dad's name is everywhere. They're hailing him as the whistleblower who started it all." Mom squeezed my hand. "He gave his life to expose this. We finished what he started." "Ms. Simmons," reporters called out, "how does it feel knowing your husband's murder has finally been solved?" Before Mom could answer, more police cars screamed up to the courthouse. Marcus, in orange prison clothes, emerged in chains. "Still think you've won?" he shouted across the plaza. "There will always be more of us. Always be more secrets." "You're right," I called back, making him stop. "There probably are more secrets, more corruption, more people like you." "Then you understand. You can't win." "No," Mom stepped forward. "We already have, because now everyone knows the truth is out there. Everyone knows there are people willing to fight for it." "And next time," Kyson added, "we'll be ready." Marcus's face contorted as officers led him away. His empire had crumbled, his powerful friends were falling one by one, and the lighthouse that had hidden his secrets now stood as a monument to truth. Danielle's phone chirped. "The task force is ready," she said. "You sure about this?" I looked at Mom and Kyson. They nodded. We're sure. Inside the courthouse, we found Marissa waiting with a stack of papers. Everything's set, she said. The whistleblower protection program, the new identities, just say the word. No, I replied. We're not hiding. But they still have allies out there, she protested. People who might want revenge. Let them come, Mom said, taking off Dad's locket. We're done living in shadows. She walked to the clerk's desk and placed the locket in an evidence bag. This belongs in the case file. Let everyone see what my husband died protecting. Besides, Kyson grinned, someone has to stick around to keep fighting. Dad taught us that. Danielle handed us each an FBI consultant badge. Then let's make it official. The task force needs people who know what to look for, people who've seen the corruption firsthand. You want us to help investigate other potential projects? I asked. Who better? You three did what an entire federal agency couldn't. Imagine what you could do with actual resources. Mom traced Dad's name on the courthouse wall of honor, newly installed that morning. What do you think, honey? Ready to be a family of investigators? As long as we're together, I said. That's what got us through this. Speaking of together, Kyson pulled out his phone. The support group for families affected by corruption is meeting tonight. They asked if we'd share our story. Our story, Mom repeated softly. Not just about corruption and revenge, but about healing, about finding strength in each other. The courthouse doors opened. Outside, the media waited for statements, for answers, for hope that justice was still possible in a world of shadows. Ready? I asked my family. Ready, they answered. We stepped into the sunlight together, not as victims or vigilantes, but as survivors, as proof that truth could outshine any darkness. My car, the same one that started this whole journey, sat waiting in the parking lot, no longer a symbol of betrayal, but of perseverance. Where to first? Kyson asked as we got in. There's a suspicious banking pattern in Seattle, Danielle said from the back seat. Might be nothing, might be another project. Or, Mom smiled, it might be another chance to make Dad proud. I started the engine, remembering that first morning when I found my car missing. How lost and angry I'd felt. How alone. Never again. Seattle it is, I said, pulling onto the street. But first, breakfast. I'm thinking pancakes. Pancakes? Kyson laughed. We're about to investigate potential international corruption and you want pancakes? Hey, even justice fighters need fuel. Mom's hand found my shoulder. Pancakes sound perfect, honey. Your father always said the best plans start with a good breakfast. As we drove toward our favorite diner, I caught sight of the lighthouse in my rearview mirror. It no longer looked ominous. Just a tower of white stone, its secrets exposed to the light. Some people say revenge is a dish best served cold, but they're wrong. The best revenge is served with family, with purpose, and yes, with pancakes. Because in the end, it's not about getting even, it's about getting better, together. The day my mother stole my future started like any other Thursday, except this time I caught her red-handed with my bank statement spread across the kitchen counter. I stood frozen in the doorway, watching her perfectly manicured fingers trace the numbers that represented 4 years of my hard work and savings. My name is Isabella, and I'd spent my entire life trying to earn my mother's approval. But standing there, seeing her scrutinize my personal finances without permission, I finally understood that nothing would ever be enough. Isabella, darling, I didn't hear you come in, she said, not even bothering to hide the papers. We need to discuss something important. I gripped the doorframe harder. Those are my private statements, Mom. Private? She laughed that airy laugh she reserved for when she thought someone was being ridiculous. Sweetheart, I'm your mother. Nothing is private from me. What did you do? My voice came out barely above a whisper. She straightened up, smoothing her designer blouse. Your brother's wedding is coming up, and as you know, these things are expensive. Donovan deserves the absolute best. My stomach dropped. You didn't. The venue alone costs... That's my college fund. I stepped into the kitchen, hands shaking. I've been saving since high school. Every extra shift, every bonus, every birthday check. And it's being put to good use, she cut in. Your brother is marrying into the Addams family. This wedding needs to be perfect. I grabbed the statements off the counter. The transfer had already gone through. Nearly everything I'd saved, gone. You had no right. I had every right. I'm still listed on that account from when you were a minor. She reached for her wine glass, taking a casual sip. Besides, you can always take out student loans like everyone else. Donovan's wedding is a once-in-a-lifetime event. The familiar sting of being second best burned in my chest. And my education isn't important? Of course it is, darling. But you've always been the practical one. Donovan needs this connection with the Addams family. Their influence could really launch his career. My phone buzzed in my pocket, a text from Donovan himself. Need to talk. Meet at Sterling's in 20? I have to go, I said, already backing away. Isabella, don't be dramatic about this. Everything I do is for this family. I didn't respond. I couldn't. If I opened my mouth, I'd either scream or cry, and I refused to give her the satisfaction of either. 20 minutes later, I burst into Sterling's apartment where my brother was already waiting. One look at my face and Sterling, my best friend since middle school, wordlessly handed me a glass of wine. She did it, didn't she? Donovan asked, his face grim. I nodded, downing half the glass in one go. Every penny, Don, for your perfect wedding to your perfect bride. Sterling settled onto the couch beside me. That's literally theft. We could report her. She's still on the account, I said bitterly. Legally, she had every right. Donovan stood up, pacing the room. This ends now. I can't watch her destroy your life like she tried to destroy mine. I looked up at him, surprised by the steel in his voice. My brother had always been Mom's golden child, the one who could do no wrong. But something in his expression had changed. What do you mean? I asked. He stopped pacing and turned to face me. You remember 2 years ago when I wanted to start my own business instead of joining Dad's firm? And suddenly you changed your mind? The pieces started clicking together. She threatened you, didn't she? Threatened, manipulated, blackmailed, take your pick. He sat down across from me. But this wedding, it's not what she thinks it is. And if you're willing to help me, we can turn her perfect plan into our escape route. Sterling leaned forward, intrigued. What exactly are you suggesting? A slow smile spread across Donovan's face, the kind of smile I hadn't seen since we were kids plotting to steal cookies from the kitchen. How would you like your money back, Bella? With interest? I set down my wine glass, meeting his gaze. I'm listening. Mom thinks she's orchestrating the society wedding of the year, he said. But what if we give her a ceremony she'll never forget? One that finally shows her exactly what happens when you push your children too far. For the first time since finding those bank statements, I felt a spark of hope. Tell me everything. Remember when we used to hide in the treehouse? Donovan asked, refilling my wine glass. We'd moved to Sterling's balcony, the city lights twinkling below us like fallen stars. Every time Mom had one of her society parties? Our secret rebellion headquarters, I smiled, the memory warming me more than the wine. Where we'd eat contraband candy and plot our great escape. Well, baby sister, it's time for the great escape to finally happen. Sterling returned from the kitchen with a fresh bottle. Okay, you two have been cryptic long enough. What's this master plan? Donovan leaned forward, lowering his voice despite us being alone. Remington isn't really my fiancé. What? I nearly choked on my wine. She's my business partner. We've been building a tech startup in secret for the past year. He pulled out his phone, showing us a sleek website. Mom thinks Rem is just the perfect society bride, daughter of her country club friends. She has no idea Rem's trust fund went into developing our app. Sterling whistled. That's actually brilliant. But the wedding? I asked. All my money? Is going straight back to you, Donovan assured me. Plus a share in our company. Rem and I needed one big investment to launch and, well, he shrugged. Mom volunteered without knowing it. I stood up, pacing the balcony. She'll never forgive us. That's kind of the point, Bella. Donovan caught my arm, stopping me. Look at me. When was the last time you did something without wondering if Mom would approve? The question hit hard. I thought about every career choice, every relationship, every outfit I'd second-guessed because of her potential reaction. Exactly, he said, reading my expression. She's controlled us our whole lives. But here's the thing. I'm not actually getting married. What do you mean? Sterling sat up straighter. Oh my God, you're going to leave her at the altar? Better. Donovan's eyes sparkled with mischief. We're going to give her exactly what she wants. A society wedding that everyone will talk about for years. Just not the way she expects. Don't keep us in suspense, Sterling prodded. Rem's not walking down that aisle, Donovan said. You are, Bella. The wine glass nearly slipped from my hand. What? Think about it. Mom's spent months planning this elaborate wedding, inviting everyone who's anyone, making sure all eyes will be on our family. So let's give them something to see. You want me to marry you? I couldn't help laughing. That's insane. Not marry me, obviously, but imagine Mom's face when her perfect society wedding turns into her children publicly exposing her manipulation. We'll have a captive audience of all her peers. Sterling jumped in. My brother Grayson works in events. He could help coordinate everything behind the scenes. I sat back down, mind racing. But what about Rem? Won't this hurt her reputation? Already handled, Donovan assured me. She'll be called away on urgent business the week before. Mom will be too invested in the wedding to cancel. Then, at the ceremony, I show up instead of Rem, I finished, the plan taking shape in my mind. With documented proof of every manipulation, every threat, every stolen dollar, Donovan added. Projected on screens for all her society friends to see. Sterling was already typing on his phone. Grayson can handle the technical side. He's been wanting to get back at your mom since she got him blacklisted from planning country club events. I took a deep breath, memories flooding back. Mom missing my graduation because Donovan had a golf tournament. Her forgetting to submit my art school applications. The constant comparisons and subtle put-downs. You know what this means, right? I asked Donovan. If we do this, there's no going back. No more family holidays, no inheritance, no more walking on eggshells, he interrupted. No more living our lives according to her script. He took my hands in his. Remember what we used to say in the treehouse? Marshall kids against the world, I whispered our old motto. Damn right. He squeezed my hands. So what do you say, Bella? Ready to crash a wedding? I looked at Sterling, who gave me an encouraging nod, then back at my brother. In that moment, I felt like that little girl in the treehouse again, dreaming of freedom. Let's do it, I said, raising my glass, to the great escape. We clinked glasses as the city lights twinkled below, conspirators in the night plotting a revolution that would start with a wedding march. You're absolutely sure about this? Remington asked, adjusting her fake engagement ring under the cafe's patio umbrella. We'd chosen this spot carefully, far enough from Mom's usual haunts, but public enough to avoid suspicion if anyone saw us together. For the 10th time, yes, I assured her. But are you? Your reputation? We'll be fine, she cut in, stirring her latte. The tech world loves a good scandal, and our app launches the week after the wedding. Perfect timing for maximum publicity. Sterling arrived with Grayson in tow, laptop bag slung over his shoulder. Ladies, your technical wizard has arrived. Keep it down, I hissed, though I couldn't help smiling. Grayson had the same dramatic flair as his sister. He pulled out his laptop, showing us a detailed timeline. Okay, so I've got everything mapped out. The wedding's in 3 weeks. Rem, you'll need to leave town next Thursday. Already booked my flight to Silicon Valley, she nodded. Very public, very traceable. Perfect. That gives Marin 9 days to panic, but not enough time to cancel without losing all the deposits. Grayson clicked through his presentation. I've arranged for the venue's AV system to be upgraded the day before. They think it's a complimentary service. Sterling leaned over his shoulder. What about the guests? All 300 of them, I groaned. Mom made sure to invite everyone who's ever meant anything in this city. That works in our favor, Remington pointed out. More witnesses means more pressure on her to maintain her composure. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. Dress fitting at 3. Don't be late this time. Speaking of composure, I sighed, showing them the message. I have to go play supportive sister for the afternoon. Actually, this is perfect timing, Grayson said. I need you to plant this in your mom's office while you're there. He handed me what looked like a normal USB drive. "It'll give me remote access to her computer." I stared at it. "You want me to hack my mother?" "We need proof of the money transfers," Remington said gently, "and any other dirt we can find. The more evidence we have, the less she can deny. Plus," Sterling added, "we need to make sure she hasn't found anything suspicious on her own." The USB felt heavy in my hand. "What if she catches me?" "Tell her you're backing up wedding photos," Grayson suggested. "She'll eat that up, the devoted sister helping with precious memories." 2 hours later, I was standing in Mom's home office, heart pounding as I plugged in the drive. The dress fitting had gone exactly as expected. Mom fawning over Remington while passive-aggressively suggesting I do something about my figure before the wedding photos. "Isabella?" Mom's voice called from downstairs. "Where did you disappear to?" "Just getting some water," I called back, watching the USB light blink. Grayson had said it would only take 30 seconds, but each one felt like an hour. "Well, hurry down. Remington's mother is bringing over fabric samples for the table settings." The light turned solid green. I pulled out the drive just as Mom appeared in the doorway. "What are you doing in here?" I held up my phone. "Sorry, needed to charge it. All that photo taking drained my battery." She softened slightly. "You did take some lovely pictures today. It's nice to see you finally taking an interest in your brother's happiness." I swallowed the bitter retort that rose in my throat. 3 more weeks. Just 3 more weeks of playing the dutiful daughter. That evening, I met the others at Sterling's apartment again. Grayson was already deep in Mom's files. "Found it," he announced as I walked in. "Full documentation of the transfer from your account, plus emails to the bank authorizing it without your knowledge." "That's illegal, right?" Sterling asked. "Technically, she had account access," Remington said. "But the emails prove premeditation. She knew exactly what she was doing." "There's more," Grayson added, still scrolling. "Emails to Donovan's old business partners, threatening to pull strings if they worked with him. Letters to art schools withdrawing Isabella's applications. Even a blacklist she maintains for the country club." I sank onto the couch, the weight of years of manipulation hitting me all at once. She really did control everything. "Not anymore," Sterling squeezed my shoulder. "In 3 weeks, everyone sees the real Marin." My phone buzzed again, another text from Mom. "Don't forget, bridal brunch tomorrow. Wear the blue dress I bought you. The green one makes you look sallow." I showed it to the others, managing a weak smile. The countdown begins. "To the mother of all wedding crashes." Grayson raised his glass. We all clinked glasses, but my hand was shaking slightly. The plan was in motion. There was no turning back now. "She's called 6 times in the last hour," I told Donovan, watching my phone buzz for the 7th time. We were huddled in his apartment, going over final details while Mom melted down over Remington's sudden business emergency. "Let it ring," he said, sorting through documents we'd pulled from Mom's computer. "The more desperate she gets, the less likely she is to cancel." "You don't think she'll just find you another society bride?" "In 9 days?" He laughed. "Even Mom's networking skills have limits." My phone started ringing again. This time, it was Remington. "You need to hear this," she said when I answered, putting the call on speaker. "Your mom just offered to buy my company to keep me in town for the wedding." Donovan nearly choked on his coffee. "She what?" "Offered 7 figures, sight unseen. I almost feel bad turning her down." "Almost." "She's really losing it," I marveled. "Did she say anything about me?" "Oh yeah," Remington's voice dripped with sarcasm. "Apparently you're inconsolable about missing your brother's special day. She's telling everyone you've taken to your bed with grief." Sterling, who'd been quietly working on her laptop, snorted. "That explains the sympathy texts I've been getting. Half our high school class thinks you're having a breakdown." "Perfect," Donovan said. "The more dramatic she makes this, the better our reveal will be." My phone buzzed yet again, Mom calling for the 8th time. With a deep breath, I finally answered. "Darling, where have you been?" Her voice was frantic. "We have a crisis." "I heard." I tried to sound appropriately devastated. Poor Rem, having to leave so suddenly. "This is a disaster. The Addams family connection was everything." But don't worry, I have a plan. I've called every eligible family in our circle. Mom, Donovan cut in, having moved closer to the phone. Stop. The wedding is happening as scheduled. But darling, without a bride. I said it's happening. Trust me. There was a long pause. When Mom spoke again, her voice had that dangerous sweetness I knew too well. Donovan, dear, I know you're upset, but we have to be realistic. The guests, the vendors, the press release I've already sent out. Mom, I jumped in, following our script. What if I helped? I could stand in for Rem, just for the ceremony photos. We look similar enough from a distance. The silence that followed was deafening. I could practically hear her mind racing, calculating angles and appearances. That's actually quite clever, she said slowly. Yes, that could work. We'd need to alter the dress, of course. And you'll have to do something about your hair. Whatever you think is best, Mom, I said, catching Donovan's approving nod. Come over right now. We need to start preparations immediately. And Isabella? Wear the blue dress, the green one. Makes me look sallow. I know. After hanging up, I let out a shaky breath. Sterling immediately handed me a glass of wine. She bought it, Donovan said, sounding almost surprised. Hook, line, and sinker. Of course she did, Sterling said. You know your mom. She'd rather have a fake wedding than no wedding at all. Grayson arrived an hour later with updated plans. Okay, venues confirmed we can access the AV system the night before. I've edited the footage, emails, bank statements, everything set to music. Very dramatic. What about the guests? I asked. Already handled, Sterling said. I've been seeding rumors about a special surprise at the ceremony. Everyone's intrigued. My phone chimed with a text from Mom. Ordered rush alterations for the dress. Be at the boutique tomorrow at 9 a.m. sharp. No excuses. Here we go, I showed them the message. Countdown to transformation. You know she's going to be impossible for the next week, Donovan warned. When isn't she? I grabbed my purse, preparing to head to Mom's house. But this time, every criticism, every passive-aggressive comment, every manipulation is just more fuel for the fire. That's my girl. Sterling hugged me goodbye. Remember, you're not just playing along anymore. You're gathering ammunition. As I headed out, Donovan caught my arm. Bella, wait. Are you sure you're ready for this? Once we start the dress fittings, there's no backing out. I thought about my empty bank account, about years of being second best, about all the dreams I'd given up to keep the peace. I've been ready my whole life, I said. It's time Mom learned what happens when you push your children too far. Marshal kids against the world, he offered our old motto. Against the world, I agreed, stepping out into the evening, ready to begin the final act of our longest-running rebellion. The wedding dress felt like armor as I stood in front of the boutique's three-way mirror. Mom circled me like a hawk, pinching fabric and muttering about emergency alterations. Stand straighter, she commanded, tugging at the bodice. Really, Isabella, if you'd maintained your high school figure, we wouldn't be rushing these adjustments. The seamstress, pinning the hem, shot me a sympathetic look. The dress is gorgeous on her, Mrs. Marshall. Your daughter looks like a princess. She's not the bride, Mom snapped. She's just standing in for photos. But yes, we need her to look adequate. My phone buzzed on the nearby chair. A message from Grayson. AV system hacked. All set for tomorrow. Who keeps texting you? Mom demanded. This is important, Isabella. Focus. Just Sterling, asking about makeup tomorrow. I lied smoothly. She's still doing my hair, right? Mom's lips tightened. I suppose, though I still think we should have hired professionals. Another text came through, this time from Donovan. Mom's credit card records came through. Wait till you see what she spent your money on. Isabella, phone away, I complied, but not before sending a quick to both messages. The seamstress continued working, and I caught fragments of Mom's running commentary. Thank goodness you and Remington are similar heights. Have to do something about that birthmark on your shoulder. Maybe we can Photoshop it later. The boutique door chimed, and Sterling breezed in with a garment bag. Emergency veil delivery. Oh, thank God! Mom rushed over. Please tell me it's the right shade of ivory. While Mom fussed over the veil with the boutique owner, Sterling sidled up to me. How you holding up? Ready for this to be over, I whispered. Did you see what Donovan found? Girl, you're going to flip. She spent part of your money on a spa retreat for herself. Called it wedding stress relief. The seamstress finished pinning the last section. All done, honey? You can change now. In the dressing room, I carefully hung up the dress, my hands shaking slightly. One more day, just one more day of playing along. Isabella? Mom called through the door. Hurry up. We still need to check the table settings and confirm the flowers. Coming! I changed quickly, emerging to find Mom already on her phone. No, absolutely not, she was saying. I ordered peonies, not garden roses. This is unacceptable. Do you know who I am? Do you know how much we're spending? Sterling rolled her eyes behind Mom's back, making me stifle a laugh. The rest of the afternoon passed in a blur of last-minute details. Mom micromanaged everything, from the exact shade of the napkins to the precise timing of the Dove release. Now remember, she instructed as we finally headed to our cars. Rehearsal dinner at 7. Wear the blue dress. Not the green one, Sterling and I finished in unison. Mom's eyes narrowed. This isn't funny. Tomorrow has to be perfect. The Addams family may have lost their bride, but we still have appearances to maintain. As soon as Mom drove away, I slumped against my car. I can't believe we're actually doing this. Having second thoughts? No, I straightened up. Just first-time jitters about publicly humiliating my mother. My phone rang. Donovan this time. You need to get to Grayson's now, he said when I answered. Wait till you see what we found in Mom's emails. 20 minutes later, I sat in Grayson's home office, staring at his computer screen in disbelief. She did what? I whispered. Contacted every art school you applied to, Donovan confirmed. Told them you had a history of plagiarism, that accepting you would be a liability. Grayson pulled up more emails. She also threatened to pull country club memberships from anyone who hired you for graphic design work. That's why I couldn't get any local clients, I realized, years of rejection suddenly making sense. It gets better, Remington chimed in from the video call on Grayson's second screen. She's been paying people to report my company's social media accounts as scams, trying to tank us before we launch. Tomorrow can't come soon enough, I said, anger burning away any remaining doubts. My phone lit up with another text from Mom. Don't be late to rehearsal, and please do something with your hair. We can't have you looking like a charity case in front of everyone. I showed the others the message, then deleted it with a decisive tap. You know what? I said, standing up. I think I'll wear the green dress tonight. Sterling grinned. That's my girl. One last act of rebellion before the grand finale. Mom wants perfect? I grabbed my keys. Let's show her what perfect really looks like. 5 minutes until showtime, Sterling whispered, adjusting my veil in the bridal suite. How are you feeling? Like I'm about to throw up or pass out. Maybe both. Well, don't. This dress was expensive. She stepped back, admiring her handiwork. You look incredible, by the way. Mom's going to lose it when she sees you. The door burst open and Mom swept in, already in full command mode. Everyone out except the bride. I mean, Isabella and Sterling. She waited until the bridesmaids filed out before turning to me. Well, at least you didn't ruin your hair this time. Thanks, Mom. That means a lot. She missed the sarcasm, too busy checking her phone. The photographer's ready. Donovan's in position. The Addams family sent a message expressing their disappointment, but they're here, front row. She finally looked up. Isabella, are you listening? Every word. Good. Now remember, you're just standing in for photos. Keep your head high, smile graciously, and... A knock at the door interrupted her. Grayson poked his head in. 2-minute warning, everyone. And Mrs. Marshall, you're needed in the main hall. This better be important, Mom huffed, hurrying out. As soon as she was gone, Grayson slipped inside. Everything's set. Screens are ready. Footage is queued up. The moment you reach the altar, I hit play. My hands were shaking so badly Sterling had to help me with my bouquet. What if she tries to stop it? That's what security's for, Grayson winked. Being the venue's preferred vendor has its perks. Another knock. This time it was Donovan. Ready, sis? You clean up nice, I managed, taking in his tuxedo. Very convincing groom. Learned from the best, he grinned. Mom's got everyone seated. It's time. Sterling hugged me tight. Go get 'em, Tiger. The wedding march began as I took my place behind the closed doors. Through the wood, I could hear the murmur of 300 guests, all of Mom's carefully cultivated social circle gathered to witness her perfect society wedding. Last chance to back out, Donovan whispered, offering his arm. I took it, squeezing perhaps a bit too tight. Not a chance. The doors swung open, the music swelled, and there, at the end of the aisle, I saw Mom's face transform from proud satisfaction to absolute horror as she realized who was walking down the aisle. Whispers rippled through the crowd. I caught fragments as we passed. Where's Remington? Is that his sister? What's going on? Mom started to rise from her seat, but Grayson was faster. The screens around the venue flickered to life, displaying the first email. RE, withdrawal of Isabella Marshall's art school applications. More emails followed, each one larger than the last. Bank statements, text messages, every piece of evidence we'd gathered projected for all to see. We reached the altar just as Mom's voice filled the room through the speakers. Of course I took her college fund. Donovan's wedding is more important than her little art hobby. The crowd's whispers turned to gasps. I turned to face them, Donovan at my side, as years of manipulation played out on the screens. Stop this immediately! Mom stood up, her face scarlet. This is ridiculous! Is it, Mom? I spoke into the microphone we'd hidden in my bouquet, my voice carrying through the sound system. More ridiculous than sabotaging your daughter's career? Than stealing her future? Everything I did was for this family. No, Donovan took the mic. Everything you did was for your reputation, your status, your control. The screens showed the final piece. Mom's frantic emails from the past week, offering to buy Remington's company, threatening to destroy her reputation, all to save face at this wedding. You're ruining everything, Mom hissed, advancing toward the altar. 2 security guards smoothly stepped into her path. Actually, Mom, I said, you did that yourself. Every manipulation, every lie, every time you chose your social standing over your children's happiness. It all led to this moment. And now, Donovan added, everyone knows exactly who you are. The crowd was dead silent, hundreds of eyes fixed on Mom as she stood there, trapped between the security guards and the weight of her exposed secrets. This wedding is over, she announced, trying to salvage some dignity. Everyone leave. Oh no, I smiled, channeling her own sweet venom. The party's just getting started. After all, you spent my entire college fund on it. Might as well enjoy it. As if on cue, the band started playing, and Sterling appeared with champagne. The stunned silence broke into nervous laughter, then genuine amusement as guests realized they were witnessing not just a wedding, but a revolution. Mom fled the hall, her perfectly curated world crumbling behind her, and for the first time in my life, I stood tall, no longer in anyone's shadow. Mom was waiting in the bridal suite when I went to change, her perfect posture a stark contrast to the chaos we'd just unleashed. She sat in the vintage armchair like it was a throne, her face a mask of cold fury. Well, she said as I closed the door, I hope you're satisfied with yourself. Actually, I am. I started removing the veil, letting it fall to the floor. For the first time in my life, I did exactly what I wanted, instead of what you demanded. What you wanted, she stood up, voice rising. You humiliated me in front of everyone who matters in this city. Do you have any idea what you've done? Showed them the truth? The truth, she laughed bitterly. The truth is I gave you everything, both of you. Every advantage, every opportunity. Every opportunity to be exactly who you wanted us to be, I cut in. But the moment we tried to be ourselves, you sabotaged us. The door opened and Donovan walked in, followed by Sterling and Grayson. Mom's eyes narrowed at the reinforcements. So this is what it's come to? My children conspiring against me with the help? She gestured dismissively at our friends. Mom, Donovan stepped forward. The help just helped expose how you stole from your daughter and blackmailed your son. Maybe show some humility? Humility? She spat the word like poison. I built this family's reputation from nothing. Everything we have, everything you are. Is in spite of you, not because of you, I interrupted. And by the way, speaking of everything we have, I nodded to Grayson, who pulled out his phone. The bank's been notified of the fraudulent transfers, he said. They're reversing everything as we speak. Mom's face went pale. You can't do that. I had authority. Obtained through coercion, Sterling chimed in. The emails prove it. The bank's fraud department was very interested in those. And that's not all, Donovan added. The art schools you contacted? They're sending written apologies to Isabella. Turns out they don't appreciate being manipulated into rejecting qualified students. Mom sank back into the chair. This is how you repay me? After everything I've sacrificed? Sacrificed? I stepped closer. You sacrificed my dreams for your social climbing. You sacrificed Donovan's business for your country club status. The only thing you never sacrificed was your own ego. Get out. Her voice was ice. All of you. You're no children of mine. Funny, I said, reaching for the door. That's the first honest thing you've said all day. We left her there, surrounded by the wreckage of her perfect wedding. In the hall, guests were still mingling, the buzz of scandal electrifying the air. Isabella! Mrs. Adams, Remington's mother, caught my arm. That was quite a performance. I braced for condemnation, but her eyes were twinkling. Thank you for exposing Marin, she continued. She's been terrorizing the social circuit for years. No one dared stand up to her until now. Others approached, each with similar stories. Mom's victims and witnesses finally free to speak their truth. Your mother blacklisted my catering company last year. She threatened to pull donations from my charity. She spread rumors about my daughter's college admission. Sterling appeared with champagne. To the fall of the Tyrant Queen? We clinked glasses as Grayson's phone buzzed. He checked it, grinning. Bank transfers complete. Isabella, you are officially unrobbed. And that's not all, Donovan added. Rem just texted. Our app's pre-launch publicity is through the roof. Turns out a dramatic society wedding scandal is better than any marketing campaign. Speaking of publicity, Sterling nodded toward the entrance where reporters were gathering. Looks like Mom's perfect society wedding is making headlines after all. Let them come, I said, surprising myself with my steadiness. It's time everyone knew the truth. What happens now? Grayson asked. Now? I looked around at my real family, my brother who chose truth over privilege, my friends who helped orchestrate our liberation. Now we celebrate. After all, Mom did pay for an open bar. And tomorrow? Donovan asked softly. Tomorrow we start living our lives without looking over our shoulders. No more manipulation, no more control. Marshall kids against the world? He offered. No, I corrected him, including Sterling and Grayson in our circle. Family against the world, the family we chose. As we raised our glasses again, I caught a glimpse of Mom slipping out a side door, alone for perhaps the first time in her social climbing life. But I felt no guilt, no regret, only relief and the lightness of finally being free. To new beginnings, I toasted. To truth, Donovan added. To karma, Sterling laughed. And somewhere in the background, the band played on. Your work is incredible, the gallery owner said, studying my latest piece. The emotion, the rawness, it's exactly what we're looking for. I tried to keep my voice steady. So you're interested in showing it? Interested? My dear, I want to feature you as our headline artist for next month's showcase. As she outlined the details, my phone buzzed with notifications. Donovan and Remington's app had just hit 1 million downloads, making headlines in the tech world. Mom would have hated that her stolen money had funded such a successful startup. The gallery owner finished writing up the contract. Just one thing. I noticed you sign your work as Isabella rather than using your family name. The art speaks for itself, I said. It doesn't need my mother's name attached to it. She nodded approvingly. Speaking of which, that wedding video really made waves. Very brave, what you did. It wasn't brave, I corrected her. It was necessary. Leaving the gallery, I headed to Sterling's coffee shop, our new regular meeting spot since the wedding. Donovan was already there, laptop open to another glowing review of their app. "There's my famous artist sister," he called out as I approached. Says the tech mogul. I dropped into the chair beside him. Mom would be having fits if she knew how well we're doing without her influence. Actually, Sterling appeared with my usual order. "She knows. She's been following both of you online. My brother saw her at the country club yesterday, showing people articles about Donovan's app on her phone." "Seriously?" I nearly spilled my coffee. "Apparently she's telling everyone she funded your initial startup," Donovan laughed. "Technically true, I suppose." "Classic Mom," I shook my head, taking credit for the very things she tried to prevent. "Speaking of prevention," Sterling sat down with us. "Guess who just called asking about booking the coffee shop for a reconciliation brunch?" My stomach tightened. She didn't. "Oh, she did. Said she's ready to forgive us all for the wedding misunderstanding if we agree to let her back into our lives." "Wow," Donovan whistled. "Her social circle must really be crumbling if she's this desperate." "What did you tell her?" I asked Sterling. "That we're fully booked until the next century." She grinned. "Also, that forgiveness requires actual remorse, not just social convenience." My phone buzzed again, an email from one of the art schools Mom had blacklisted me from. They were offering me a guest lecturer position, impressed by my resilience and artistic growth. "You should do it," Donovan said, reading over my shoulder. "Show everyone what Mom tried to keep hidden." "Maybe I will." I forwarded the email to Grayson, who'd become our unofficial PR manager. "But first, I need your help with something." I pulled up the gallery contract on my phone. "They want an artist's statement for the showcase, something about my journey and influences." "Tell them the truth," Sterling suggested, "about breaking free and finding your voice." "Without mentioning Mom," Donovan added. "She doesn't get to be part of this story anymore." The coffee shop door chimed, and we all looked up. For a moment, I thought I saw Mom's silhouette through the window watching us. But then, it was gone, like a ghost of the control she used to have over our lives. "You know what's funny?" I said, turning back to my family. My real family. "She always said we'd fail without her connections, her influence, her money. But look at us now." "Successful?" Sterling offered. "Happy," I corrected. "We're finally happy." Donovan raised his coffee cup. "To happiness without permission. To success without manipulation," Sterling added. "To family," I finished. "The kind you choose, not the kind that chooses you." As we clinked cups, I started typing my artist's statement. Art isn't about perfection or control. It's about truth, even when that truth is messy. Especially when it's messy. Because in that mess, we find our real selves, our real family, our real strength. The words flowed easily now, no longer constrained by fear of disapproval. Outside, the city moved on, full of people living their own stories of breaking free and finding truth. And somewhere out there, Mom was probably still trying to control her narrative, not realizing she'd lost the only thing that really mattered: us. But that was her story now, not ours. We had our own stories to write, our own paths to follow, our own happiness to create. And for the first time in our lives, we were doing it all without looking over our shoulders, without seeking approval, without compromising who we were. We were free, and that was the greatest success of all.
The day Edison left, I stood in our kitchen holding the mug he'd given me for our 10th anniversary, debating whether to smash it against the wall or pack it away with the rest of my shattered life. My name is Thea, and this is the story of how I turned betrayal into my greatest triumph. "You can't be serious," I said, watching him stuff designer shirts into a leather weekend bag. 10 years of marriage, and you're walking away for someone you've known for 3 months? Edison didn't even look up. "Thea, we both know this isn't working anymore. Savannah understands my ambitions. She sees the bigger picture." "The bigger picture?" I laughed, but it came out more like a sob. "You mean her trust fund?" He finally met my eyes. "Don't be bitter. It doesn't suit you." "What suits me then, Edison? Silence? Should I just smile and wave while you destroy everything we built together?" The morning sun streamed through our bedroom window, highlighting the empty spaces where his things used to be. Photos removed from walls, dresser drawers hanging open, The walk-in closet half empty, like a mouth missing teeth. "I never meant to hurt you," he said, zipping up his bag. Funny how people always say that after doing exactly what they knew would hurt someone the most. My phone buzzed. Harper. "Girl, I'm outside. Just say the word, and I'll come up there and help you throw his stuff out the window." "I'm fine," I texted back, even though I was anything but. Edison checked his watch. The Rolex I'd helped him pick out last Christmas. "Savannah's waiting. I'll have my lawyer contact you about the divorce papers." "Of course she is." I followed him to the door. "Does she know about the gambling debts? Or did you conveniently forget to mention those?" He stiffened. "That's none of her business." "Yet somehow it was my business when I had to bail you out last year." "I paid you back." "Not everything, Edison. Not even close." He reached for the door handle, then paused. "You'll be fine, Thea. You're strong. Always were. Maybe too strong." "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means sometimes a man needs to feel needed. Savannah, she makes me feel that way." I stepped closer, my voice dropping to a whisper. "And how long until she realizes you're not the successful businessman you pretend to be? How long until the charm wears off and she sees what I've known for years, that you're just a man running from his own mediocrity?" His jaw clenched. For a moment, I thought he might argue, but instead, he opened the door and walked out without another word. I waited until I heard the elevator ding before sliding down against the wall, the tears finally coming. Harper found me there 10 minutes later, still clutching that stupid anniversary mug. "Oh, honey," she said, sitting beside me. "Let it out." "I gave him everything," I sobbed. "My time, my money, my dreams. I put my writing career on hold to support his ventures. And for what?" Harper wrapped an arm around me. "For a lesson. A painful one, but a lesson nonetheless." "What lesson?" "That you're worth more than being someone's backup plan. That it's time to focus on your dreams for a change." I wiped my eyes, looking at the manuscript pages scattered across my desk in the corner. My unfinished novel, gathering dust while I'd played supportive wife to a man who'd never truly supported me. "You know what the worst part is?" I said, standing up. "He thinks I'm going to fall apart without him. They both probably think that." Harper stood too, a fierce look in her eyes. "Then prove them wrong." I walked to my desk and picked up the manuscript, feeling its weight in my hands. "Oh, I will. But not just for revenge. I'm done living in his shadow." "That's my girl. What's the first step?" I grabbed my laptop and opened a new document. "I'm going to write a story, but not just any story. I'm going to write our story with a twist they'll never see coming." Harper grinned. "Now that sounds like a bestseller in the making." Looking at the blank page, I felt something shift inside me. The pain was still there, but now it had purpose. Edison thought he was walking away with everything, but he'd left behind the one thing that would ultimately be his undoing. My voice. I began to type, the words flowing easier than they ever had before. The day he left, I realized that some love stories aren't about love at all. Sometimes they're about power, and sometimes, just sometimes, they're about revenge. 3 months after Edison left, I sat across from Milo in his corner office at Summit Publishing, watching him read the first chapters of my manuscript. Each time he turned a page, my heart skipped a beat. "Well?" I asked when he finally looked up. He removed his reading glasses and leaned back in his chair. "This is raw. Powerful. Nothing like the romance novels you used to pitch me." "Is that a good thing?" "It's a very good thing, Thea." He tapped the manuscript. "This has teeth. The protagonist's journey from betrayal to self-discovery. It's compelling, personal even." I shifted in my seat. Maybe a little too personal? That's exactly why it works. Milo stood and walked to his window overlooking Manhattan. "Readers want authenticity. They want to feel something real. So you'll publish it?" He turned, a smile playing at his lips. "Better. I want to fast-track it. This could be huge with the right marketing." My phone buzzed. Harper checking in. I'd barely pressed ignore when Milo's assistant knocked and entered. Your next appointment is here, she said. Give me 5 minutes, Milo replied, then faced me again. There's just one thing. The ending feels unfinished. I'm still working on it, I admitted. I know where I want it to go, but I'm not quite there yet. Take your time. Sometimes the best endings reveal themselves when we least expect them. He walked me to the door. Oh, and Thea? You're coming to the writer's retreat next weekend, right? I wasn't invited. You are now. You'll meet some incredible authors there, including Athena Hughes. I think you two would hit it off. That evening, I met Harper at our favorite wine bar to celebrate. She raised her glass as I told her about the meeting. To karma finally working in your favor, she toasted. It's not about karma, I said, though I couldn't help smiling. It's about taking control of my own story. Speaking of stories, Harper leaned forward. Have you heard about Edison and his trophy wife? I took a long sip of wine. I try not to keep tabs on them. Well, maybe you should. Word is, they're having problems. Apparently, Savannah's family isn't too happy about his financial situation. Harper, I know. You're above all that. But admit it. It feels a little good knowing their perfect life isn't so perfect. Before I could respond, a familiar voice called out, Thea, is that you? I turned to see Connor Douglas, looking as successful as ever in his tailored suit. We'd met at several of Edison's business functions years ago, but hadn't spoken since the divorce. Mind if I join you ladies for a minute? He asked. Harper kicked out a chair. Please do. We're celebrating. Oh, what's the occasion? Thea just landed a book deal. A big one. Connor's eyes lit up. Finally, I always knew you were the talented one in that marriage. No offense. None taken, I laughed. What brings you here? Meeting with investors across the street, but this is better. He flagged down a server. Another round on me. We need to properly celebrate. As the evening wore on, I found myself relaxing more than I had in months. Connor asked thoughtful questions about my book, and actually listened to the answers. When he finally had to leave, he handed me his business card. I know some people in publishing marketing, he said. Let me know if you ever want to discuss promotion strategies. After he left, Harper gave me a knowing look. Well. Stop it. He's just being friendly. Friendly is saying hello. That man stayed for 2 hours talking about your book. I tucked his card into my purse. Maybe he just appreciates good literature. Maybe he appreciates more than that. Harper's expression turned serious. You know it's okay to move on, right? Edison doesn't own your future. I know. I stared into my wine glass. But right now, I need to focus on finishing this book. The ending has to be perfect. Any ideas yet? I thought about Milo's words about endings revealing themselves. Actually, yes. But I'll need your help with something at the book launch. I'm in. Whatever you need. Don't agree so quickly. What I have in mind, it's either going to be brilliant or completely backfire. Harper reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Either way, I've got your back. Now tell me everything. As I outlined my plan, I felt a familiar rush of excitement. The same feeling I got when writing a particularly good scene. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about destroying someone else's happiness. Sometimes it's about reclaiming your own and making sure they have a front row seat to watch it happen. And now, debuting at number 5 on the New York Times bestseller list, Milo's voice boomed through the speakerphone as I paced my living room. Before he could finish, I screamed, Number 5? Are you serious? As a heart attack, he laughed. Congratulations, Thea. You're officially a best-selling author. Harper, who'd been perched on my couch, jumped up and hugged me. I told you it would be huge. After ending the call, I collapsed onto the couch, still dazed. My phone kept buzzing with notifications, congratulatory messages, interview requests, and social media mentions. This calls for champagne, Harper declared, heading to my kitchen. The expensive stuff you've been saving. It doesn't feel real, I said, scrolling through the messages. 6 months ago, I was just Edison's ex-wife. Now you're Thea, best-selling author. Harper returned with 2 glasses. And speaking of Edison, have you seen the reviews? I grabbed my laptop. The top review on Amazon read, "A searing exploration of betrayal and redemption. The author's portrayal of Marcus, the self-serving husband, feels so authentic, you'll swear she's writing from experience." They have no idea, I laughed. Oh, but they will, Harper winked. Eventually. My phone buzzed again. Connor this time. Free for lunch tomorrow? Want to discuss some marketing ideas for the book? Harper read the text over my shoulder. Third lunch meeting this month? Still just discussing marketing? Yes, actually. He's been incredibly helpful with publicity. And incredibly interested in spending time with you. Before I could protest, my doorbell rang. A delivery man stood there with an enormous bouquet of roses. Congratulations on the bestseller list, the card read. Looking forward to lunch tomorrow. Connor. Harper raised her eyebrows. Just business, huh? Later that week, I met Athena for coffee. We'd grown close since the writer's retreat, and she'd become something of a mentor. The success is wonderful, she said, stirring her latte, but how are you handling everything else? You mean the Edison situation? She nodded. Success is the best revenge, they say, but revenge can be exhausting. I'm not. I started, then sighed. Okay, maybe part of me enjoys knowing he'll see my name on that bestseller list. Of course you do. You're human. She leaned forward. But don't let it consume you. I've seen too many writers get stuck in their pain, unable to move forward. Is that why you're concerned about my launch party plan? I just want to make sure you've thought it through. Public humiliation has a way of backfiring. It's not about humiliation, I insisted. It's about truth, about taking back my narrative. Athena's expression softened. Then make sure that's what comes across. Speaking of which, how's the final chapter coming along? Almost done. I'm meeting Connor for lunch to discuss the ending. Connor? She smiled knowingly. The businessman who's been helping with marketing. Not you too. Harper's already planning our wedding. I'm just saying, it's nice to see you opening up again. Speaking of which, she pulled out her phone and showed me a recent social media post. It was a photo of Edison and Savannah at a charity gala, but their smiles looked strained. The caption mentioned trouble in paradise. I don't want to know, I said, pushing the phone away. Yes, you do, and that's okay. But remember, the best characters don't waste time plotting revenge. They're too busy building something better. At lunch with Connor the next day, I couldn't stop thinking about Athena's words. We sat at our usual corner table, marketing materials spread between us. These numbers are incredible, he said, reviewing the sales reports. Have you thought about doing a book tour? Milo's working on it. But first, the launch party. Connor set down the papers. About that, are you sure about inviting Edison? How did you? Harper might have mentioned it. She's worried about you. I pushed my salad around my plate. I know what I'm doing. I'm sure you do. But as someone who cares about you. He reached across the table and took my hand. Just be careful. The warmth of his touch sent a flutter through my stomach. I thought we were keeping this professional. Is that what you want? Before I could answer, my phone chimed with an email notification. My heart stopped when I saw the sender. Edison Foster. Thea, it read. We need to talk. It's important. Please. I showed Connor the email. His jaw tightened. What are you going to do? I thought about the launch party, about my carefully laid plans, about the ending I'd been crafting. I'm going to finish what I started. But as I said it, I wondered if I was really ready for what that meant. I chose the same coffee shop where Edison had first told me about Savannah for our meeting. Petty? Maybe. But if he wanted to talk, we'd do it on my terms. He arrived 15 minutes late, looking nothing like the polished businessman who'd left me a year ago. His designer suit was wrinkled, his eyes shadowed with exhaustion. You look terrible, I said as he sat down. Thanks for meeting me. He attempted a smile that didn't reach his eyes. I've been reading your book. And? It's revealing. Marcus seems familiar. Any resemblance to real persons is purely coincidental. I quoted the disclaimer from my book's copyright page. What do you want, Edison? He ran a hand through his unkempt hair. Savannah left me. I'm sorry to hear that. I wasn't. She found out about the gambling, the debts, everything. He leaned forward. I need your help, Thea. I laughed, sharp and bitter. You can't be serious. I know I have no right to ask, but you're the only one who really knows me, who understands. Understands what? How it feels to be betrayed? To have everything you believed in turn out to be a lie? I made mistakes, horrible mistakes. His voice cracked. But I'm trying to make things right. The casino's threatening to go public with my debts. If that happens, I'll lose everything. Like I lost everything? You didn't lose everything. Look at you, best-selling author, successful, respected. No thanks to you. A waitress approached. Edison ordered coffee with trembling hands. How much? I asked after she left. 200,000. I nearly choked on my tea. Are you out of your mind? I can pay you back. I just need time to… Like you paid me back last time? I'm not your personal bank anymore, Edison. He reached across the table, trying to take my hand. I pulled away. Please, Thea, I know I don't deserve your help, but… You're right, you don't. I stood up, gathering my things. Then I paused, an idea forming. Actually, there might be one way I can help. Hope flickered in his eyes. Anything. Come to my book launch party next week, as my special guest. Your launch party? I'm doing a reading, something new, not from the published book. I think you'll find it interesting. And if I come, you'll help with the money? I smiled, channeling the same false warmth he'd once used on me. Let's just say it could be very beneficial for both of us. Later that evening, I met Harper at her apartment, pacing as I told her about the meeting. He fell for it? She asked, pouring wine. Completely. He's desperate enough to believe anything. And you're sure about this? Once you do this, there's no going back. My phone buzzed. Connor calling. I ignored it. Still avoiding him? Harper asked. I need to focus. I can't have any distractions right now. He's worried about you. We all are. She sat beside me on the couch. Revenge might feel good in the moment, but this isn't just about revenge. I pulled out my laptop, opening the document containing my new pages. Listen to this. I read her the passage I planned to share at the launch. A devastating exposé of a man's descent into addiction and deceit, thinly veiled as fiction, but laden with details only Edison would recognize. Damn, Harper whispered when I finished. That's brutal. It's truth, his truth, the one he's been hiding from everyone. And you're really going to read this in front of all those people? Industry professionals? His colleagues? Why not? He didn't care about humiliating me when he left. Why should I protect him? My phone buzzed again. Connor's third call of the day. Because you're better than that, Harper said softly. And because I think you're using this revenge plot to avoid dealing with other feelings. What other feelings? She nodded at my still buzzing phone. The ones you're developing for someone else. Someone who actually deserves your attention. I silenced the phone. I can't think about that right now. The launch is in 6 days. Everything has to be perfect. And after? What then? I stared at the manuscript pages, at the words that would destroy what remained of Edison's reputation. Then I'll be free. But as I said it, I wondered who I was really trying to free myself from. Edison, or the angry, hurt woman I'd become since he left. Your choice, Harper said, raising her glass. Just remember, sometimes the best revenge isn't getting even, it's getting happy. I touched my glass to hers, but didn't drink. In 6 days, I'd have my moment of triumph. I just had to ignore the growing voice inside that questioned whether triumph and revenge were really the same thing, You're making a mistake, Athena said, watching me rehearse my reading in the empty bookstore after hours. This isn't you. How would you know? I snapped, then immediately regretted it. I'm sorry, I'm just nervous or guilty. I set down the manuscript pages. The bookstore's dim evening lighting cast long shadows across the rows of chairs we'd arranged for tomorrow's launch. Both, I admitted, but I can't back out now. My phone lit up with another text from Connor. Please call me, we need to talk. Athena noticed. Still avoiding him? I'm not avoiding, I'm focusing. On destroying your ex-husband instead of building something new? She picked up my manuscript. May I? I nodded, and she began reading aloud. The man who stood before me was a hollow shell of deception, each lie another card in his house of addiction. I watched him crumble, knowing my words would be the final breath that scattered his carefully constructed facade. Stop, I whispered. Why? Isn't this what you want everyone to hear tomorrow? It's the truth. No, she said, setting down the pages. It's pain masquerading as truth. There's a difference. The bookstore's door chimed. Harper walked in, carrying coffee and a concerned expression. How's the rehearsal going? It's not, Athena answered. She's too good a writer to go through with this. Harper handed me a coffee. What do you mean? I mean, Athena said, that real writers don't use their gift to destroy. They use it to illuminate, to heal, to transform. Edison deserves, I started. What anyone deserves isn't your responsibility, Harper cut in. But what you deserve is. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Edison. Looking forward to tomorrow. Thank you for giving me a chance. The message made my stomach turn. He thinks I'm going to help him, that this is some kind of reconciliation. And that doesn't bother you? Athena asked. Of course it bothers me. Everything about this bothers me. I paced between the chairs. But you didn't see him at that coffee shop. So smug, thinking he could just walk back into my life and ask for money like nothing happened. So this is about money? Harper asked. No, it's about control, Athena finished. But control and power aren't the same thing. True power comes from moving forward, not looking back. I sank into one of the chairs. I've worked so hard on this ending. Maybe it's the wrong ending, Harper suggested. Maybe there's a better one. Like what? Athena sat beside me. Like showing everyone, that your story isn't about him at all, that he's just a chapter, not the whole book. My phone lit up again. Connor, I'll be at the launch tomorrow, whether you want me there or not. Because I believe in you, even if you're not ready to believe in us. Harper read the message over my shoulder. Now that's a man worth writing about. I can't think about Connor right now. Why not? Athena asked. Because he makes you feel something other than anger? Because I'm scared. The words echoed through the empty bookstore. Because what if I let go of this anger, and there's nothing left? Harper hugged me. Oh, honey, there's so much left. Your talent, your success, your friends who love you, and maybe someone who could love you the right way if you let him. The launch is tomorrow, I said weakly. Everything's planned. Athena picked up my manuscript again. Plans can change. Endings can be rewritten. That's the beauty of being the author. You get to choose how the story ends. But the invitations, the press, will love whatever you give them, Harper said, because you're a brilliant writer who doesn't need scandal to sell books. I looked at my phone, at Connor's message, then at the manuscript pages that had consumed me for weeks. The words suddenly felt hollow, vindictive in a way that made me ashamed. I need to write something new, I said. Something true. Athena smiled. You have all night. And we have coffee, Harper added. And tomorrow, I said, opening my laptop, I'll tell a different story. As I began to type, I felt the anger that had driven me for so long begin to fade, replaced by something lighter, cleaner. Edison would still be there tomorrow, expecting one story but getting another. And maybe that was the best revenge of all, showing him that he no longer had the power to define my narrative. My phone buzzed one more time. I picked it up and finally, after days of avoiding it, pressed call. "Connor? Can you come to the bookstore? I could use your help with something." The bookstore buzzed with anticipation. Every seat was filled, with people standing along the walls and spilling into the aisles. Milo worked the room, shaking hands with industry professionals, while Harper directed latecomers to any remaining spaces. "5 minutes," Athena said, squeezing my arm. "How are you feeling?" I clutched my new pages, still warm from the printer. Like I might throw up. "You won't." She peeked through the staff room door. "Oh, Edison's here, front row, looking nervous." "Good." I smoothed my dress. He should be. "Thea." Connor appeared behind me, handsome in his dark suit. "Ready?" "No. Yes. Maybe." I turned to face him. "Thank you for staying up all night helping me with this." He smiled, tucking a strand of hair behind my ear. "Thank you for finally answering my calls." "About that," I started, but Milo stuck his head in. "We're ready for you." The walk to the podium felt like miles. Edison sat exactly where Athena had said, his expression a mixture of hope and anxiety. Beside him, an empty chair, Savannah's absence speaking volumes. "Good evening," I began, my voice steadier than I felt. "Thank you all for coming." The crowd quieted. In the back, I spotted Connor giving me a thumbs up. "Many of you have read my novel, An Unworthy Muse. You've followed Sarah's journey through betrayal and redemption. Tonight, I want to share something new. A story about what happens after revenge stops being the answer." Edison shifted in his seat. I saw confusion replace hope in his eyes. "This piece is called Forward," I continued. "It's about letting go, not because someone deserves forgiveness, but because we deserve peace." I began to read. The words flowed differently than the angry exposition I'd originally planned. Instead of exposing Edison's secrets, I told the story of a woman who discovered that her greatest victory wasn't in destroying her ex-husband's life, but in building her own. As I read, I watched Edison's expression change. Recognition, shame, understanding. But I kept my focus on the story, on the truth I'd finally allowed myself to tell. And in the end, I concluded, she realized that some chapters need to close quietly, without fanfare or destruction, because the best revenge isn't a spectacular ending, it's a beautiful beginning. The room erupted in applause. Through tears I hadn't realized were falling. I saw Harper beaming, Athena nodding proudly, and Connor looking at me like I'd hung the moon. Edison stood up. For a moment, I thought he might leave, but instead, he walked to the podium. "Thea," he said softly, so only I could hear, "I don't deserve your mercy." "This isn't about what you deserve," I replied. "It's about what I deserve. The money is not my problem anymore." I stepped back. "Good luck, Edison. I mean that." He nodded, understanding the dismissal, and walked out of the bookstore. As the door closed behind him, I felt a weight lift that I hadn't even known I was carrying. The signing line stretched for hours. Reader after reader shared their own stories of betrayal and healing, each one reminding me why I'd chosen to change my ending. "That was incredible," Milo said during a brief break. "Raw, honest, powerful. The press is going to love it." "More importantly," Harper added, "you loved it. I could tell." Finally, as the last readers left and the staff began cleaning up, Connor approached the signing table. "Do I get a signed copy too?" "You helped write it," I smiled. "If anything, I should be asking for your autograph." "I'd rather ask for dinner." He leaned against the table. "Now that you're not avoiding me anymore." "I wasn't avoiding you. I was processing, focusing, running scared. All of the above." He took my hand. "And now, I looked around the bookstore, at the empty chairs and scattered bookmarks, at the space where Edison had sat and then left, taking our past with him. "Now I think I'm ready for that beautiful beginning I wrote about." "Good," he said, pulling me to my feet, because I know this great Italian place around the corner, and I kissed him. Right there, surrounded by books and possibility, I finally let myself feel something other than anger. Something that felt a lot like hope. Or we could just do that, he whispered when we broke apart. Harper whistled from across the room. Athena slow-clapped. And I laughed, really laughed, for what felt like the first time in years. Come on, I said, gathering my things. I'm starving, and I have a feeling this is going to be a long dinner. The best stories usually are, he replied, taking my hand. 2 weeks after the launch, I sat in Milo's office, watching him read the morning's paper. The headline made my stomach flip. Local author's launch takes unexpected turn, a story of redemption over revenge. They love it, Milo said, tossing the paper aside. Every major outlet is talking about your brave choice to share a message of healing instead of exposing your ex-husband. They don't know I almost did the opposite. That's what makes it authentic. He leaned forward. Speaking of authentic, have you seen this? He slid his tablet across the desk. On the screen was a social media post from Savannah. Sometimes the strongest people are the ones who choose peace over vengeance. Thank you, the author, for showing me that. Well, that's unexpected, I said. Not really. Word is she's writing her own book about toxic relationships and financial abuse. Good for her. You mean that, don't you? Milo studied my face. You've changed. Before I could respond, his assistant knocked. Sorry to interrupt, but you need to see this. She handed Milo her phone. His eyes widened. Turn on the news. Now. The office TV flickered to life, showing a breaking news report. Prominent businessman Edison Foster arrested for embezzlement and gambling fraud. Oh my God, I whispered. Sources say Foster had been stealing from his investment clients to cover massive gambling debts. His recent attempt to secure emergency funds. My phone exploded with notifications. Harper, are you watching this? Athena, call me ASAP. And Connor, coming to get you, don't watch alone. I need to go, I told Milo. Of course, but Thea? He caught my arm. The press will want your comment. Think carefully about what you say. I found Connor waiting in the lobby. Without a word, he pulled me into a hug. You okay? He asked into my hair. I don't know what I am. I pulled back to look at him. I could have exposed him at the launch. Maybe if I had. Then his victims would still be victims, just with a different story. This way, they get justice. My phone rang. Edison's lawyer. I declined the call. Let's get out of here, Connor said. Harper and Athena are waiting at your place. We found them in my apartment, pizza and wine already laid out. The news played silently on TV, showing Edison being led into a police car. I ordered your favorite, Harper said, pulling me into a hug. Extra mushrooms, no judgment. Have you heard from him? Athena asked. I shook my head. His lawyer called, but nothing. Harper interrupted. You're not involved in this. You chose to walk away, remember? Actually, Connor pulled out his phone. The DA's office called me. They want to know if you'll testify about the money he borrowed from you during your marriage. What? Why you? Because, he looked slightly embarrassed. Before I started my own company, I worked in financial crimes prosecution. They remembered me. Why didn't you tell me? It never came up. And then, after the launch, it didn't seem important. My phone buzzed again. Another news outlet requesting comment. What should I do? I asked the room. Athena took my hand. What does your heart tell you? That I'm glad I didn't expose him at the launch. That would have been about revenge. This is about justice. Then there's your answer, Connor said. Help the investigation if they need you, but don't let it consume you. You've got better things to focus on. Like your book tour, Harper added. And your new manuscript, said Athena. And maybe, Connor smiled, pulling me close, planning our first real vacation together? I looked at him in surprise. Vacation? I was thinking Italy. You mentioned wanting to set your next book there, Harper squealed. Athena raised her wine glass, and despite the chaos unfolding on the silent TV screen, I felt at peace. I'd like that, I said. A lot. Later, after Harper and Athena left, Connor and I stood on my balcony, watching the city lights. You know what's funny? I said. I spent so long plotting the perfect revenge, but in the end, you chose to be better, and karma took care of the rest. My phone lit up with one final message, from Edison. You were right, about everything. I'm sorry. I showed Connor the text, then deleted it without responding. Some chapters don't need a response to be finished. So, I said, turning to face him, tell me more about Italy. As he described the small towns and quiet beaches he wanted to show me, I realized that the best endings aren't the ones we carefully plot. They're the ones that surprise us with their perfect simplicity. The Italian sun warmed my face as I sat at the small cafe overlooking the Amalfi Coast. My laptop screen showed the final page of my new manuscript, cursor blinking after the last sentence. Still staring at it, Connor set down 2 espressos and kissed my temple. I can't decide if it's really finished. What does your gut say? Before I could answer, my phone lit up with Harper's face on a video call. Show me everything, she demanded as soon as I answered. The view, the food, the gorgeous Italian men. Wait, sorry, Connor. I turned the phone to show her the coastline. How's the book tour going? Incredible. Your readers are obsessed with the new ending. One woman drove 6 hours just to tell you how your launch speech changed her life. Speaking of changes, Connor said, should we tell her? Harper's eyes narrowed. Tell me what? I held up my left hand, showing the vintage ring Connor had given me last night, right as the sun set over Positano. Her scream made several nearby diners jump. Finally! Wait until I tell Athena. When's the wedding? Where's the wedding? Please say Italy. We haven't planned anything yet, I laughed. We're still enjoying this moment. Well, enjoy faster. I need details to live on while you're gone. After we hung up, I returned to my manuscript. Connor read over my shoulder. She realized that true power wasn't in the magnitude of her revenge, but in the depth of her healing. That's the last line, I said. Do you think it works? I think it's perfect. He sat beside me. Just like your answer last night. My phone buzzed with a news alert. Edison Foster pleads guilty, faces 10 years. Below it was a message from Milo. Your new manuscript better be as good as the last one. No pressure. Should we head back? Connor asked. Face reality? I closed my laptop. This is reality. Right here, right now. Even with everything happening back home? Especially with everything happening back home. I took his hand. Edison's story is ending. Ours is just beginning. Speaking of beginnings, he pulled out a small notebook. I may have some ideas for the wedding. What do you think about that little church we saw yesterday? My phone rang again, Savannah's name flashing on the screen. We'd spoken briefly after Edison's arrest, a surprisingly civil conversation about healing and moving forward. Take it, Connor said. I'll order more coffee. Thea, Savannah said when I answered. I wanted you to hear it from me first. I'm publishing my story. Ha, I know. Milo told me. It's not what you think. It's about redemption, about both of us finding our way after Edison. I'd like your blessing. I watched Connor at the counter, charming the barista with his terrible Italian. You have it. Just be honest. That's all I want to be anymore. She paused. Thank you, Thea, for showing me there's life after betrayal. After we hung up, I opened my laptop one last time, adding a dedication page. To those who taught me that the best stories aren't about getting even, but getting free. And to C, who showed me that love doesn't have to hurt to be real. Connor returned with fresh coffee and cannoli. Perfect ending? Perfect everything. I closed the laptop decisively. Now, about that church. Actually, he grinned, I have another idea. What if we got married right here? Small ceremony, just our closest friends. Harper can plan it from New York. Athena can officiate. You've given this some thought. I've given you a lot of thought. He took my hand. What do you say? I looked out at the coastline, at the life we were building, at the future that looked nothing like the revenge fantasy I'd once crafted. I say yes. To all of it. My phone lit up one final time. A message from Harper to our group chat. Wedding planning starts now. No excuses about time zones. Connor laughed. Should we tell her we're thinking next week? Let's wait until she's had her coffee. I stood, pulling him up with me. Right now, I want to walk down to that little church again. As we strolled through the narrow streets, hand in hand, I thought about endings and beginnings, about revenge and redemption, about the story I'd thought I needed to tell versus the one that actually needed telling. What are you thinking about? Connor asked. About how sometimes the best plot twists are the ones we never see coming. He squeezed my hand. Like falling in love with your marketing consultant? Like finding yourself when you stop looking for revenge. I stopped, pulling him close. Like realizing your happy ending was waiting all along. The church bells rang in the distance, and I knew, finally, completely, that this was the ending I'd been meant to write all along.
The day I chose Alex was the day my mother told me I was dead to her. I remember standing in our family kitchen, the smell of her famous paella filling the air, when I dropped the bomb that would change everything. Mama, I've made my decision. I'm adopting. The wooden spoon she'd been stirring with clattered against the stovetop. Sophia, you can't be serious. Our blood, our heritage, it means everything. How could you even consider raising someone else's child? I'm Sophia Rodriguez, and that moment marked the beginning of my real life, even though it felt like everything was ending. I was 32, single, and had just been approved as an adoptive parent after a year-long process that tested every ounce of my patience and determination. Blood isn't everything, Mama, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. There are children who need homes, need love. I can provide that. You're choosing to end our bloodline? She turned to face me, her eyes blazing. What about your father's legacy? What about everything we've sacrificed to give you the life you have? The kitchen suddenly felt smaller, more suffocating. Through the archway, I could see my sister Jasmine hovering uncertainly, her expression torn between sympathy and judgment. Jazz, I called out to her. You understand, right? She took a step back, shaking her head. I can't, Sophia. Mama's right. It's not natural. The betrayal stung worse than my mother's reaction. Jasmine had always been my ally, my confidant. But blood ties, it seemed, ran deeper than sisterhood. My father walked in then, his presence filling the doorway. What's all this commotion about? Your daughter, my mother spat, is throwing away everything we've built. She wants to adopt, to bring a stranger's child into our family. I watched his face, hoping to see understanding, but found only disappointment. He didn't say a word. He never did when it mattered, just turned and walked away. 3 months later, I stood in a different room, my heart pounding as a social worker led in a small boy with curious eyes and unruly dark hair. He was 7, quiet but not shy, and when he smiled, something in my chest clicked into place. Hi, he said, extending his hand formally. I'm Alex. I knelt to his level, taking his small hand in mine. I'm Sophia. Would you like to see some pictures I brought? He nodded eagerly, and we spent the next hour looking through photos of my apartment, the park nearby, and the piano I'd inherited from my grandmother. When his fingers traced the piano in the picture, his eyes lit up. Do you play? I asked. No, but I want to learn. They don't have a piano here. He gestured around the children's home. Sometimes I practice on the table, pretending the keys are there. That was the moment I knew. This was my son. Not by blood, but by something deeper. something chosen. The day I brought Alex home, my phone was flooded with messages from family members, each one a variation of disappointment and judgment. I deleted them all without reading, focusing instead on helping Alex arrange his few belongings in his new room. "Can I really try the piano?" he asked, hovering near the instrument that dominated my small living room. "Of course, mi amor. It's your home now, too." He sat at the bench, his feet barely reaching the pedals, and pressed a key. The note rang clear and true through the apartment, then another and another. Within minutes, he was picking out a simple melody by ear. I stood there, watching in amazement as my son, yes, my son, discovered music for the first time. The joy on his face made every harsh word, every family dinner I'd miss, every holiday alone worth it. That night, after tucking Alex in, I sat at my kitchen table with a cup of tea, looking at the empty chairs where my family used to sit. The silence should have been deafening, but instead, it felt like peace, like possibility. My phone buzzed with a text from Poppy, the only family friend who'd stood by me. "How's the first day going with your boy?" I smiled, typing back, "Perfect. He's already claiming the piano as his territory." "Your mother's asking about you," she replied. I set the phone down without responding. Let her ask. Let them all wonder. I had made my choice, and watching Alex's fingers dance across those piano keys today, I knew it was the right one. From the hallway came the soft sound of humming. Alex, not quite asleep, working out a melody in his head. In that moment, I realized something profound. Family isn't about sharing blood. It's about sharing love. And we had that in abundance. 6 years flew by like pages in a music sheet. Alex's talent grew from those first hesitant notes into something that left people speechless. I was watching him practice for his first real recital when my phone buzzed with a notification that would crack open our peaceful world. "Mom, listen to this part," Alex called out, his fingers flying over the keys. At 13, he'd already surpassed what most adults could do with a lifetime of practice. The melody he created wasn't just music, it was pure emotion translated into sound. "Beautiful, mi amor," I said, then glanced at my phone. My heart stopped. There was a link to a local news article. "Teen piano prodigy takes city by storm." Alex's photo smiled up at me from the screen. "Mrs. Harrison wants me to play at the City Arts Festival next month," Alex said, still playing. "She says there'll be talent scouts there." Before I could respond, my phone started ringing. Poppy's name flashed on the screen. "Sophia, have you seen it?" Her voice was urgent. "The article's going viral in the family group chat." My stomach clenched. "How bad is it?" "Your mother's already asking for Alex's schedule. Ezra's talking about untapped potential and family management." She paused. "They're coming, Sophia, all of them." As if on cue, another call beeped through, Jasmine's number. I hadn't seen it in years. "I have to go," I told Poppy. "Keep me posted?" Alex had stopped playing, watching me with concern. "Everything okay, Mom?" "Just fine, honey, but we need to talk about something." I sat beside him on the piano bench. "That article about you? Some people from my past might try to contact us." "You mean your family?" His fingers traced the keys without pressing them. "The ones in the photos you keep in the box under your bed?" I startled. "How did you—" "I found them last year when looking for my birth certificate." He met my eyes. "Why don't we ever see them?" Before I could answer, the doorbell rang. Through the window, I saw a familiar car parked outside. "Stay here," I told Alex, but he followed me anyway. I opened the door to find Jasmine standing there, looking exactly as she had 6 years ago, except for the designer handbag and expensive highlights. "Sophia," she breathed, then looked past me. "And you must be Alex. I'm your Aunt Jasmine." Alex stepped halfway behind me. his hand finding mine. "Hi," he said quietly. "Can we talk?" Jasmine asked, her eyes pleading. "Please, I saw the article, and I've missed you, sis." 6 years, I said flatly. 6 years of silence, and now you want to talk? "I was wrong," she whispered. "We all were, but Alex's talent, it's extraordinary. The family should be part of this." "The family?" I laughed bitterly. "You mean now that there's something in it for them?" "It's not like that." But her eyes shifted away. "Mama's changed. We all have. Ezra thinks he could help manage Alex's career. He's in the music industry now, and—" "Stop." My voice was steel. "Alex isn't a meal ticket. He's my son." "Our nephew," she corrected. "Our blood, even if not by birth." Alex's hand tightened in mine. "Mom?" His voice was small. "Who's Ezra?" "Nobody you need to worry about," I assured him, then turned back to Jasmine. "You can tell Mama and Ezra and everyone else that Alex's career is already perfectly managed, by me." "The family gathering is next weekend," Jasmine pressed on. "Everyone will be there. Just think about coming. For Alex's sake. He deserves to know his family." I felt Alex step forward. "I know my family," he said clearly. "I have my mom." Pride and love swelled in my chest as Jasmine's face fell. She reached into her bag and pulled out an envelope. "Just take this. It's an invitation. Think about it." She placed it on the welcome mat when I didn't take it. "We've all made mistakes, Sophia. Maybe it's time to heal them." After she left, I picked up the envelope with trembling fingers. Alex wrapped his arms around my waist. "We don't have to go," he said. "No, we don't." I stroked his hair, thinking hard. "But maybe we should." He pulled back, surprised. "Really?" A plan was forming in my mind. 6 years of hurt, of judgment, of self-righteous abandonment, all suddenly crystallizing into purpose. "Really," I said. "Sometimes, mi amor, people need to face the consequences of their choices, even family." "Like a lesson?" He grinned, understanding dawning in his eyes. "Exactly like a lesson." I tucked the invitation into my pocket. "Now, how about you play that new piece again? We want it to be perfect for the family gathering, don't we?" Alex returned to the piano, but this time his music had an edge to it, something sharp, and knowing that matched the glint in my eye. The time for reconciliation had passed. Now it was time for reckoning. The week before the family gathering, memories ambushed me at every turn. I was sorting through Alex's sheet music when my phone lit up with an unfamiliar number. "Sophia?" The voice was older, hesitant. "It's your father." The papers scattered across the floor. 6 years of silence. And now this. "What do you want?" My voice came out sharper than intended. "I saw you accepted the invitation." He cleared his throat. "I wanted to warn you about your mother's plans." I sat down hard on the couch. "Warn me?" "She's invited the Camerons. Their daughter runs that prestigious music academy downtown." He paused. "And Ezra's brought in some industry contacts. They're trying to take control of Alex's future," I said flatly. It wasn't a question. "Your mother, she sees it as correcting a mistake, making things right." He sighed. "She thinks if she can guide Alex's career, it'll make up for everything. Make up for disowning me, for missing 6 years of his life." I laughed bitterly. "That's rich." "Sophia." "No, Papa. You don't get to play concerned father now. Where were you when I needed you? When Alex asked why he didn't have a grandfather at his school events?" The silence stretched between us like an old wound. "I was wrong," he finally said. "We all were. But your mother still controls you," I finished. "Some things never change." A knock at my door interrupted us. Through the peephole, I saw Poppy standing there, looking worried. "I have to go," I told my father. "Thanks for the warning. I'll put it to good use." I let Poppy in, her arms full of grocery bags. "Stress baking," she explained, heading straight for my kitchen. "I brought supplies." "It's starting already," I said, following her. "The manipulation, the schemes." "I know." She began unpacking flour and sugar. "Jasmine called me. They're planning some big showcase of Alex's talent at the gathering. Already invited half the music industry in the city." My hands clenched around a mixing bowl. "Without asking me, without asking Alex. What are you going to do?" Before I could answer, Alex burst through the front door, his face flushed with excitement. "Mom, Mrs. Harrison gave me a new piece to learn. She says it's perfect for—" He stopped, seeing our expressions. "What's wrong?" Poppy busied herself with measuring ingredients while I sat Alex down at the kitchen counter. "Remember how I told you about your grandparents? About why we don't see them?" He nodded slowly. "Because they were mad you adopted me instead of having your own kid." "Right. Well, they're planning something for the gathering, something big involving your music." His face brightened momentarily, then fell. "Without asking us?" "Exactly." I squeezed his hand. "They want to control your future, mi amor, to use your talent for their own purposes." "Like what happened to David?" he asked quietly. My heart clenched. David had been Alex's friend from music school, a violin prodigy whose parents had pushed him so hard he'd eventually quit music altogether. "Yes, like David, but we're not going to let that happen." Poppy looked up from her baking. "You have a plan?" A small smile played at my lips. "They want a show? We'll give them one they'll never forget." "What kind of show?" Alex asked, his eyes sparking with interest. I pulled out my phone, showing them the text from my father. "They've invited all these important people, thinking they can take control of your future, but they forgot something important." "What's that?" "You're not just talented, mi amor. You're your own person, and you have a voice, in your music and otherwise." Understanding dawned on his face. "You want me to play something different? Something they won't expect? I want you to play exactly what you want to play, and when the moment's right—" I shared a look with Poppy, who was grinning now. "They won't know what hit them," she finished. Alex jumped up from his seat. "Can I practice now? I have some ideas." As he rushed to the piano, Poppy handed me a spoon covered in cookie dough. "You know they'll never forgive you for this. They never forgave me for adopting him in the first place." I licked the spoon, tasting sweetness and determination. "At least this time they'll earn their grudge." Through the kitchen doorway, I watched Alex at the piano, his fingers dancing across the keys with purpose. The melody he played wasn't the soft, crowd-pleasing classical pieces my mother would expect. It was something else entirely, something with fire and truth in every note. "That's beautiful, honey," I called out. "What's it called?" He looked over his shoulder, a mischievous glint in his eye. "I'm thinking of calling it Blood Isn't Everything." Poppy nearly dropped her mixing bowl laughing, and in that moment, watching my son transform our pain into art, I knew we were ready for whatever the gathering would bring. The family estate loomed before us, its manicured lawns and pristine fountains exactly as I remembered. Alex whistled low beside me as we pulled up in my modest sedan, surrounded by luxury vehicles. "You grew up here?" he asked, adjusting his tie. "Not exactly the two-bedroom apartment you're used to, huh?" Poppy's car pulled in behind us. "Ready for this?" she called out, joining us on the circular driveway. Before I could answer, the front door swung open. My mother stood there, elegant as ever in her designer dress, her arms outstretched. "Sophia! Alex!" Her voice carried across the lawn like wind chimes. Come in, Everyone's waiting. Alex gripped my hand as we walked up the steps. My mother moved to hug him, but he stepped back slightly. Nice to meet you, he said politely, every inch the well-mannered boy I'd raised. I'm Alex. Her smile faltered for just a moment. Of course you are, dear. I'm your grandmother Shanice. She turned to me, arms still open. Sophia, mihia. Let's not pretend, Mama, I said quietly. Where's everyone else? She dropped her arms, her mask slipping slightly. In the conservatory. We've had the piano tuned specially. Of course they had. The conservatory was packed with faces I hadn't seen in years, plus plenty I didn't recognize. Ezra stood near the piano, deep in conversation with a man in an expensive suit. Jasmine hovered nearby with her husband. My father sat alone in a corner, looking uncomfortable. Alex, Ezra broke away immediately, striding over. The man of the hour. I'm your Uncle Ezra. I've arranged some amazing opportunities for you today. He has a performance scheduled next month, I cut in, at the City Arts Festival. Ezra waved his hand dismissively. Small potatoes. I'm talking about real opportunities. Record deals, prestigious academies. He gestured to the suit-wearing man. This is Marcus from Capitol Records. Alex's grip on my hand tightened. I like my current schedule, he said firmly, and my current teacher. But surely, Ezra started, but was interrupted by my mother clinking a glass. Everyone, please welcome our talented nephew, Alex. He'll be performing for us shortly. She beamed at the crowd. We're so blessed to finally have him join our family properly. Finally? Alex muttered under his breath. Where were they for the past 6 years? Exactly, I whispered back. Ezra was already ushering Alex toward the piano. I've selected some pieces that will really showcase your classical training. Nothing too modern. We want to impress the right people. Actually, Alex said, his voice carrying clearly across the room, I've prepared my own piece. A murmur went through the crowd. My mother's smile became fixed. But dear, we've already printed programs, she said. Perhaps next time you can... It's an original composition, Alex continued, sitting at the piano. I wrote it especially for today. I caught Poppy's eye across the room. She gave me a subtle thumbs up. An original piece? Marcus from Capitol Records leaned forward, interested. That's impressive for your age. My mother shot me a look that could have frozen fire. Sophia, perhaps you should guide him toward something more traditional? Alex makes his own choices about his music, I said loudly. That's how it's always been. But we know what's best for his future, Ezra interjected. The family has connections. The family? I laughed. You mean the same family that hasn't sent him a single birthday card in 6 years? That family? A heavy silence fell over the room. My father shifted in his corner chair. Perhaps, he said quietly, his first words of the day, we should let the boy play what he wants. My mother's head whipped around. Owen! But Alex had already started playing. The melody began softly, almost traditionally, before transforming into something entirely different, raw, emotional, with hints of jazz and modern influences woven through classical foundations. It was the story of our life together, of rejection and resilience, of choosing love over blood. I watched my mother's face as she recognized the underlying message, saw Ezra's frown as he realized his carefully laid plans were unraveling, noticed Jasmine's tears as the music spoke truths we'd left unspoken for years. Marcus was nodding appreciatively, tapping his foot to the complex rhythms. Other industry people in the crowd were whispering excitedly among themselves. What did you say this piece was called? Marcus asked when Alex finished. Alex stood from the piano, straight and proud. Blood isn't everything, he announced clearly. I wrote it for my mom, the only family I needed. The silence that followed was deafening. My mother's perfect gathering was derailing spectacularly, and we weren't even at the main event yet. Well, Poppy said brightly into the tension, who's ready for dinner? The dining room crackled with tension as servants placed elaborate dishes before us. Alex sat between me and Poppy, while my mother held court at the head of the table, her smile growing more strained by the minute. That was quite a unique performance, she said, cutting into her meat with precise movements, though perhaps not quite what our guests expected. Marcus from Capitol Records leaned forward. Actually, I found it fascinating. The blend of classical structure with modern elements shows remarkable sophistication for someone so young. Yes, well, Ezra cut in smoothly. With proper guidance, we could channel that raw talent into something more marketable. I've already spoken with several prestigious academies. Without consulting me, I interrupted, setting down my fork. His legal guardian, Sophia. My mother's voice carried that familiar warning tone. We're simply trying to help. You can't possibly understand the complexities of the music industry. Like you didn't understand my decision to adopt? Silverware clinked against china as conversations around the table hushed. I have some contracts drawn up, Ezra pressed on, pulling papers from his jacket. Simple management agreements, nothing binding, just... Actually, Alex spoke up, his voice clear and steady. I already have management, my mom. Jasmine, sitting across from us, winced. Sweetie, your mom's amazing, but this industry requires connections, experience. Experience? I laughed. Like abandoning family? You're all experts at that. Now, Sophia, my mother's voice sharpened. That's hardly fair. We're trying to make amends. Are you? I pulled out my phone, scrolling through messages. Is that why you've been calling every music school in the city, claiming to be Alex's grandmother and legal guardian? Gasps echoed around the table. My mother's face paled. Or why Ezra's been approaching venues, promising Alex's performances without our knowledge, I continued, laying my phone on the table. I have the emails. You've been monitoring us? Ezra sputtered. No, they've been warning me. Turns out, people in the music industry don't appreciate being manipulated. They've been forwarding me everything. Marcus raised an eyebrow, looking at Ezra with new interest. We were trying to help, my mother insisted, to give him opportunities. Like the opportunities you gave me? I stood up, my chair scraping back. The choice between family and doing what I knew was right? Mom, Alex touched my arm, then turned to address the table. I love music, but I love it because my mom let me find it on my own. She never pushed, never demanded, never tried to control it. But your talent, Ezra started, is mine, Alex finished firmly, not yours to manage or sell or control. My father cleared his throat. The boy's right. Owen, please, my mother hissed, but he continued. We lost 6 years, he said, looking directly at me for the first time. 6 years of birthdays, holidays, performances. We lost them because we couldn't accept Sophia's choice, and now we're trying to steal 6 years of decisions from them both. Silence fell over the table. Jasmine dabbed at her eyes with a napkin. I have a proposition, Marcus said suddenly, pulling out his business card. Not for the family, but for Alex and Sophia directly. Your composition today showed incredible promise, and your mother's clearly been managing your career beautifully so far. I'd love to discuss future possibilities with both of you. He handed the card to me, not Ezra, whose face had turned an interesting shade of purple. This is outrageous. My mother stood up, her chair toppling backward. We arranged this gathering. We brought these opportunities. No, Mama, I cut her off. You arranged an ambush. You brought people here thinking you could manipulate and control us, just like always. But Alex isn't a pawn in your game of perfect family appearances. He's my son. Our grandson, she shouted, mask finally cracking completely. Really? Alex stood up too, his voice steady. Then what's my favorite color? What grade am I in? What's my best friend's name? My mom knows all that. Where were you? The questions hung in the air like suspended notes. I think, Poppy said, standing and placing a hand on Alex's shoulder. It's time for us to go. But dessert hasn't been served, my mother protested weakly. I think we've had our fill, I replied, taking Alex's hand. Come on, mi amor, we have a practice session scheduled for tomorrow morning. As we walked toward the door, my father called out, Sophia? I turned. I'm sorry, he said simply, for everything. I nodded once, then led Alex out into the evening air, leaving behind the heavy silence of shattered pretenses and exposed truths. The night wasn't over yet. There was still one more act to come in this family drama, and I had saved the best for last. We hadn't made it halfway down the driveway when the front door burst open behind us. You can't just leave, Ezra shouted, jogging to catch up. Do you have any idea what you're throwing away? I turned slowly, feeling the weight of the USB drive in my pocket. No, Ezra. Do you have any idea what you're about to lose? He stopped short, confusion crossing his face. Behind him, others spilled out onto the front steps. My mother, Jasmine, several industry contacts. Perfect. What are you talking about? Ezra demanded. I pulled out the drive. Funny thing about being a protective mother. You learn to do your research, to keep records. I tossed it to Marcus, who caught it reflexively. You might find that interesting. What is this? Marcus asked, turning the drive over in his hands. Evidence of every shady deal Ezra's made in the music industry over the past 3 years. Every young talent he's exploited, every contract he's manipulated, every penny he's skimmed. The color drained from Ezra's face. You're bluffing. Remember Tommy Martinez, the teenage guitarist you managed last year? His parents were very helpful when I reached out. So were the parents of those twin pianists from last summer. You had no right. Ezra started forward, but my father's hand caught his shoulder. Enough, my father said firmly. Haven't you done enough damage? My mother rushed down the steps. Sophia, please. Whatever Ezra's done, he's still family. We can handle this privately. Like you handled my adoption privately? I shot back. By disowning me? By turning the entire family against me? That was different. No, it wasn't. Alex's voice rang out clear and strong. It was about control, just like this is. Jasmine stepped forward, tears in her eyes. We were wrong, Sophia, about everything. Please don't do this. Do what? Expose the truth? I laughed. That's rich coming from you, Jazz. Remember when you promised to stand by me, to be there for Alex? I was scared, she whispered, scared of being cut off like you were. And now you're scared of the consequences. Funny how that works. Marcus was scrolling through his phone, face growing darker by the minute. These allegations, if they're true? They are, I confirmed. Every single one, with documentation to prove it. You'll destroy his career, my mother pleaded, like you tried to control Alex's. Poppy spoke up from beside me. Karma's not fun, is it, Shanice? Ezra lunged forward suddenly, reaching for the drive, but Marcus stepped back smoothly. I think, Marcus said coldly, I'll be taking this to our legal department and canceling any pending contracts with your agency, Ezra. You can't, Ezra sputtered. I can and I will. The industry has no place for people who exploit young talent. He turned to Alex and me. My offer to work with you both still stands. Directly. No intermediaries. My mother sank onto the steps, her perfect gathering completely derailed. "Why are you doing this to us?" "I'm not doing anything to you," I replied calmly. "I'm protecting my son, something you never understood." "By destroying your cousin's career?" "No," Alex stepped forward, "by showing that actions have consequences. Isn't that what family's supposed to teach?" Pride swelled in my chest as my son stood tall, speaking truth to the people who'd rejected him before they'd even known him. "We could have been great together," Ezra said bitterly. "Could have made millions." "We already are great," Alex replied. "Without you." My father walked down the steps slowly, stopping in front of us. "You've grown into a remarkable woman, Sophia. And you," he turned to Alex, "are an extraordinary young man. I hope someday you'll both give me a chance to know you properly." "That depends," I said quietly. "Are you finally ready to make your own choices, Papa? Or will you let Mama make them for you?" He looked back at my mother, then at Ezra, then at the life he'd let others control for so long. Something shifted in his eyes. "I think," he said slowly, "it's time I learned from my daughter's example." My mother's gasp echoed across the driveway. "Come on," I said softly, taking Alex's hand. "Let's go home." As we walked to the car, the sound of arguing erupted behind us. Ezra's desperate explanations, my mother's accusations, Jasmine's sobs. But none of it touched us anymore. We had our own music to make. "Mom?" Alex asked as we pulled away. "Are we really never coming back?" I watched the mansion shrink in the rearview mirror. "Never say never, mi amor. But if we do, it'll be on our terms, not theirs." He smiled, already humming a new melody. "I think I have an idea for my next composition." "Yeah? What's this one called?" "Consequences." The aftermath hit faster than we expected. By Monday morning, my phone was buzzing with notifications about Ezra's sudden departure from the music industry. Local news outlets picked up the story, and by Tuesday, it was everywhere. "Mom," Alex called from the living room. "We're trending." I walked in to find him scrolling through his phone. "What do you mean, trending?" "Look." He held up the screen, showing a viral video of his performance at the gathering. Someone had recorded it and posted it online with the caption, "Teen Pianist Destroys Family Gathering with Epic Truth Bomb." 3 million views, Poppy whistled, looking over his shoulder. "And the comments are wild. People love you too." My phone rang. Marcus from Capitol Records. "Sophia, we need to talk about Alex's schedule. After that video went viral, every major venue in the city wants to book him." "On our terms?" I asked firmly. "Absolutely. You're his manager, full stop. We just want to help amplify what you're already doing brilliantly." As I discussed details with Marcus, the doorbell rang. Alex answered it, then called out, "Mom, it's Grandpa." My father stood in the doorway, looking smaller somehow, without my mother's shadow looming over him. "Can I come in?" he asked quietly. I nodded, ending the call. He sat awkwardly on our couch, taking in the modest apartment with its music awards on the walls and family photos he wasn't in. "Your mother's furious," he said finally. "She's banned anyone from mentioning either of you at home." "So why are you here?" I asked. "Because I'm done letting her control everything." He pulled out an envelope. "I've moved out, got my own place, and," he slid the envelope across the coffee table, "I've transferred half my assets into a trust for Alex's education. No strings attached." "Papa, let me finish." He held up a hand. "I can't undo the past 6 years, but I can try to be better going forward, if you'll let me." Alex sat down next to him. "Do you really want to know me, or just my music?" My father turned to him, eyes glistening. "I want to know everything. Your favorite color, your best friend's name, What grade you're in. Everything I should have known all along. Blue, Alex said. My best friend is Marcus, not the record guy, different Marcus, and I'm in 8th grade. A tear rolled down my father's cheek. Thank you. The doorbell rang again. This time it was Jasmine. Mascara streaked down her face. I left Thomas, she blurted out. I couldn't. After seeing you stand up to everyone, I realized I've been living someone else's life too. Jazz. No, let me finish. I've been so wrong, Sophia, about everything. Watching you raise Alex, seeing how strong you are. I want to be brave like that. Alex moved to the piano, his fingers finding keys as emotions filled the room. The melody he played was gentle, healing, different from the fierce peace at the gathering. What's this one called? Jasmine asked softly. Second Chances, Alex replied, not stopping. I'm still working on it. My father pulled out his phone, showing us the screen. Dozens of missed calls from my mother. She's trying to damage control everything, he said, calling in favors to suppress the video, threatening legal action against anyone who shares it. Let her, I said. The truth has a way of coming out. Ezra's left the country, Jasmine added. Apparently, there's an investigation into his business practices now. The melody from the piano swelled, filling our small living room with something that felt like hope. I can't promise everything will be perfect, my father said, but I'd like to try being a real grandfather and a real father. And I want to be a real sister, Jasmine added. If you'll have me. I looked at Alex, still playing. He nodded slightly, his music saying what words couldn't. Okay, I said finally, but we do this slowly, and everything stays transparent. No schemes, no manipulation, no control. Agreed, they said in unison. And Mom? Jasmine asked hesitantly. That's her choice to make, I replied. Just like this was ours. Alex finished his piece with a flourish that somehow managed to sound both final and beginning. Perfect timing, Poppy announced from the kitchen. I just made coffee, and Alex, honey, your new video just hit 4 million views. As we gathered around the kitchen table, my father awkwardly holding his coffee cup, Jasmine wiping away tears, Alex already composing his next piece in his head, I realized something profound. Sometimes the family you choose and the family you're born with can merge into something new, something better, but only if everyone chooses it freely. So, Papa, I said, passing him the sugar, want to hear about the first time Alex played piano? His smile was answer enough. The City Arts Festival buzzed with energy as Alex prepared backstage. His new piece, Second Chances, had evolved into something extraordinary, a complex dialogue between past and present, pain and healing. 5 minutes, the stage manager called. I adjusted Alex's tie, fighting back tears. Ready, mi amor? More than ready. He grinned, peeking through the curtain at the packed auditorium. Is everyone here? Front row. I squeezed his shoulder, even the ones we didn't expect. My mother sat stiffly between my father and Jasmine, her face unreadable. She'd arrived unannounced, slipping in just before the doors closed, our first sight of her since the gathering 3 months ago. Ladies and gentlemen, the announcer's voice boomed. Please welcome to the stage Alex Rodriguez. The audience erupted in applause as Alex walked out, confidence in every step. He'd grown taller in these past months, stronger, not just in height, but in spirit. His fingers touched the keys, and magic filled the hall. The melody started softly, like a question, before building into something that made people lean forward in their seats. I watched my mother's face as the music washed over her, saw the moment her rigid posture began to crack. Halfway through the piece, Alex seamlessly transitioned into something new, notes I'd never heard him practice. The melody carried echoes of an old lullaby, one my mother used to sing to me and Jasmine. Her hand flew to her mouth. When the final note faded, the silence lasted precisely one heartbeat before the audience exploded. Alex stood, bowing, then gestured to the front row. "This piece," he spoke into the microphone, "is for my family, all of them, the ones who've been there from the start and the ones who are learning to be there now." My mother's shoulders shook. My father wrapped an arm around her as Alex continued. "My mom taught me that family isn't about blood or obligation. It's about choice. Every day we choose who we want to be, who we want to love, who we want to forgive." He looked directly at my mother. "Some choices take longer than others. That's okay. The music waits." The audience's applause was deafening as Alex left the stage. Backstage, he flew into my arms. "That ending," I whispered. "When did you—" "Last night," he admitted, "after Grandma called." I pulled back, startled. "She called you?" "Asked if she could come today. Said she's been listening to my videos online, every single one, over and over." He smiled. "Said she finally heard what she'd been missing." A throat cleared behind us. My mother stood there, looking smaller somehow, more human. "That lullaby," she said softly. "You remembered." "Mom taught me," Alex replied. "She taught me everything important." My mother nodded, tears streaming freely now. "Sophia," she turned to me, "I don't deserve—" "No," I cut her off. "You don't. But that's not how love works, is it?" "Can I—" she hesitated. "Can I try again? Not to control, not to fix, just to be here?" Alex looked at me, and I saw in his eyes the same strength that had led me to adopt him all those years ago. The strength to choose love, even when it's hard. "Coffee," I said finally. "We can start with coffee, once a week, just talking." "I'd like that," she whispered. Poppy appeared with a bouquet of flowers. "Sorry to interrupt, but there's a whole line of record executives out there waiting to meet Alex. And Marcus says the video of today's performance is already going viral." "Let them wait," Alex said, surprising us all. "Family comes first." My mother let out a sound between a laugh and a sob. "Speaking of family," my father joined us, holding up his phone. "Ezra just pleaded guilty, all of it. He's facing serious time." "Good," I said firmly. "Actions have consequences." "Yes," my mother agreed quietly. "They do, all actions." She looked at me meaningfully. "Including mine." Jasmine appeared with coffee cups for everyone. "I thought we could all use this. It's going to be a long night of celebrations." As we stood there backstage, sipping coffee and watching Alex show my mother videos of his previous performances on his phone, I realized something. Revenge hadn't brought us here. Truth had. The truth in Alex's music, in our choices, in the consequences we faced and dealt out. "Mom," Alex called out, "can we play that duet we've been practicing? For everyone?" I set down my coffee cup and joined him at the piano. As our fingers found their places on the keys, I saw my mother lean forward, really listening for the first time. Sometimes the sweetest victory isn't in making others hurt, but in showing them what they missed and giving them a chance to hear it now. We began to play.